Take one for everyone. We have a guest. They're going to be talking as well. Now, when we start, Haggai's not going to. His segment's not till 6:30. But during the commercials, have him on because they'll have conversations.
Okay.
Make sure that's going over YouTube.
So should I still leave his mic on just permanently just for program 4?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm special.
Haggai is very special.
You are special.
B, what do you have lined up for us this afternoon?
Kevin Ford from 1 to 3. And we'll walk up to the governor at 3:30. Then 4 to 6, I got to go see if Condon's going to come down. If not, we'll have fresh numbers and audio from the governor recap. So
Yeah, the governor's going to run probably an hour.
yeah.
So,
How did they get to the screen?
So is Jay not doing his show very much anymore?
No, Jay hasn't done a show in over a month.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like not at all. Jay is his general manager, kitchen manager. She sits part-time at police on claim
you just did.
Yeah. Yeah. At the beginning of July. So, yeah, from the day I got back from
See,
vacation,
after traffic, weather,
I've been
then
pulling every Monday and Wednesday.
show intro.
I've noticed.
No, you're not. You're playing weather through here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm saying after traffic, you do weather, and then the show.
I didn't know if there was something.
It'll say here's Brian Haldane. You start
He's been
bringing it down,
hiring
bring it
and
back.
training and whatnot. So,
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter.
This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 Toyo passenger or light truck tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Here's the latest look, a zoomed-in look at Tropical Storm Ida. We're expecting this storm to become a hurricane at some point tomorrow. And
Tomorrow.
before making landfall, we're now expecting the storm to become a major Category 3 hurricane with winds near 115 miles per hour. With the current forecast track from the National Hurricane Center,
I don't like that.
the storm is likely to come right
It slowed down too.
area, potentially
To
right
12.
Yep.
Yep.
things that can still change.
You have a mattress coming up soon.
Okay.
Yeah, be our mattress on this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yesterday they had this thing hitting.
It was booking when we were talking about it. It was at 14 and
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
slowed down, which is not good.
Well,
Yesterday they had it 2 o'clock Sunday in Morgan City. Now it's 2 o'clock Monday morning. 12 hours later,
Mhm.
being at the same spot.
Shit.
As a major hurricane. It's like somebody pulled back an arrow and just shot. Beeline, it's taken directly at us.
I'm going to have to go ahead and disagree with you there, Marissa. I realize you're the one with meteorology training, but the chance that we actually see hurricane force winds is slim.
Oh,
You should have
if it's a fat M when it crosses on the land, we're going to see 75 miles an hour here.
This is Mornings with Brian Haldane. Who are you? Brian! I'm really quite. Mornings are for coffee and contemplation. News and newsmakers. Coffee and contemplation. Traffic and weather.
It says his name's here for 2.5 hours.
Good morning. Great day in the morning, people. Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Start your day with Baton Rouge's hub for information and opinion.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Here is Brian Haldane.
608 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake, I forgot the last name. Jake's producing. Sorry. No, because I got it in my head. There's like 100 Jakes up here. I mean, we got Jake upstairs. Barty. Jake Barty producing. You're in the big chair now, man. All right. I mean, Chuck left the room.
Yeah, he's putting a lot of faith in me.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. You comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. We're off and running. Big day today. A lot of storm coverage today. Tropical Storm Ida is out there. Tropical Storm Ida just has us in the crosshairs. It's looking like it's going to be stronger as it starts to slow down. Tropical Storm Ida has slowed down to, well, it hasn't slowed down yet. It's going to slow down as it crosses the Gulf. It's currently moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. But once it starts making its way across the Gulf of Mexico, it is still technically in the Caribbean. Not technically, it just is in the Caribbean. Once it starts making its way across the Gulf of Mexico, it will slow down a little bit. Landfall is projected to be late Sunday. Not overnight Sunday, but definitely late Sunday, somewhere around Morgan City. All of Louisiana's Gulf Coast is under a hurricane watch at this point. All of Mississippi's Gulf Coast is under a hurricane watch at this point. Mobile Bay is under a tropical storm watch right now, as Tropical Storm Ida has it's currently maximum sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. And like I said, still moving northwest at about 15 miles per hour. It is still in the Caribbean, a little bit south of Cuba. It should cross over Cuba overnight tonight. Tomorrow, you heard Marissa Nuzzo's forecast a little while ago, or 3 minutes ago. It should strengthen to hurricane status by about tomorrow afternoon. When those 1 p.m. numbers come out tomorrow, that's when you will likely see it become a hurricane. It's not all Ida all the time, though. We do have a lot more to cover as well. We will have top stories in training. We will have the outside in. Jake will have this day in history. No Foodie Friday today. I just didn't feel it was appropriate because we will be heavy storm coverage at that point as well. But we are going to talk a little COVID. John Pardue has been heading up this wastewater wastewater inspection over at LSU to track COVID-19 and isolate it down to a building. He's going to join us at 7:15 to talk about it. That's just one of the many things we'll be covering this morning. Hey, speaking of COVID, before we move on into, we got our sports in our next segment, but I do want to take at least a moment to note that while our focus is starting to shift over to Tropical Storm Ida and COVID kind of hits a back burner on the priority list for a couple days till this bad girl passes, it should be noted that as of yesterday at noon, Louisiana Department of Health was reporting 2,729 people in the hospital with COVID-19. That's a drop of 115 over the course of a day. 5,100 new cases reported, so we're not lightening up in that regard. 72 new deaths reported, so we're not lightening up that much in that regard, although that number got back under 100 for the first time in a couple days. But 2,729 people in the hospital, a decrease of 115. It's important to note the positives where there are positives. No testing, pun intended. But to see some folks going home from the hospital, that's a good thing. All right, we are due up for our first break. When we come back, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, they are going to get their induction ceremonies in over the weekend before Ida rolls through, although Ida's not going to be a problem for Natchitoches. Before we take that break, though, got to tell you about Mitch Kimball and his team over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 2 locations. 4065 Florida Boulevard in Mid-City, 18181 Jefferson Highway. That is the corner of Jefferson and Housche 2. Labor Day deals are on the way. Well, actually, Labor Day deals are on right now. One of the example of those Labor Day deals, get yourself a 10-inch thick queen hybrid mattress with adjustable base for $699. How about 12 months interest-free financing no matter what you spend? 24 months interest-free financing if you spend more than $1,500. How about if you mention you heard about it right here, you're going to get yourself free delivery. Yes, mention you heard about it on Talk 107.3. Mitch will waive the delivery charge altogether. Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, Mid-City on Florida Boulevard or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. All right, quick break. When we come back, Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. Some new folks going in this weekend. We'll talk about it next. Jake, I'm sorry. I totally bricked on your last name. I got it in my head. I did the Jake Ryan joke yesterday, and then it got it in my head. So you just might be Jake Ryan from now on. That's
That'll be your radio name.
We'll see how well that sticks.
yeah.
I kind of like my last name.
You have no reason not to like your last name.
Oh, your last name's overrated.
That's Tiffany says storm coverage. Does that mean Rich will be joining you? Probably this afternoon, or Sunday.
Do you want me to confirm with him down there? You want me to go ask him?
I'll go ask him at 20.
Okay.
Did I see my text go off? I did. Hey, morning, Christy. She says my YouTube screen is black. Not still, huh? Yeah, no, we're good now. This was a couple minutes ago. This was, when was it? Boy, I tell you. That was at 6:06. Hopefully it's cleared up for you by now.
So,
Yes.
do you need me at all over the weekend?
Probably Sunday. We have a call at 9:30 where we're going to go over all that. I don't know what other resources I have as far as people are concerned. So, yeah, I just if I can reach out to you after that meeting. So I'll go from that meeting straight over to my weigh-in. So, like after that. Almost definitely on Monday though.
Sometimes Spotify takes
I just don't know where out on the hours.
But you come back dry into this.
Yeah. Monday after the storm is
Remember
supposed
at
to.
6.
I don't want to be on the road during the storm. Chuck and I will be in the building and lock the damn thing down, you know. But and that's also dependent upon how many power outages there are. I mean, if we get out of this thing and there's only like 10,000 in the old metro area, then I'm not. Yeah.
Highland Road alone is going to go down just because of all the trees.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a part.
Ugh. All right then. All right then.
Take a deeper dive into the stories that are important to you with the Fox News Rundown. Weekday mornings at 9 on Talk 107.3, the new flavor of talk.
616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So we got the Fox Business Report coming your way in 4 minutes. We're going to talk about Hurricane Ida and where it might land right after that. But first, we do sports in this segment. So before the hurricane is going to make land over the course of this weekend up in Natchitoches, Louisiana, which, I mean, the cone of uncertainty, the outside line of it, it's on Natchitoches. So I guess if you're in soccer, that would be in bounds, but if you're in football, you're out of bounds. Either way, Sports Hall of Fame has their induction class this weekend. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf is going to be in that class. Chris Jackson, when he was at LSU, number 35. He averaged 30 points a game during the 88 to 89 season. Kind of ridiculous. Ronnie Rance, CEO of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, he talks about old CJ. Cut 19. Yeah, it was ridiculous. The hype surrounding him and him living up to the hype were both equally ridiculous. Rance says, by the way, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf is not the only one in this class that's worth noting. The 2021 class also features a member of LSU's 2007 national championship team, a former Southern baseball standout, and the Saints' all-time leading receiver. Yep. Marcus Colston. I mean, yeah. Can't go wrong there. So that's going to be going on this weekend, to be sure. Hey, before we get you to the Fox Business Report here in just a minute, little NFL action tonight. Colts are at the Lions. That'll be at 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Eagles are at the Jets. And also at 6:30 p.m., the Pittsburgh Steelers will be at the Carolina Panthers. Wait, one more. 7 p.m. on the NFL Network. Vikings are the Chiefs. That actually ought to be a pretty decent matchup. As the Vikings are 0-2 in preseason. The Chiefs are 2-0 in preseason. But if you're clearing out your bench to see who's going to make the roster, tonight would be the night to do it. Saints are in action tomorrow night at 7 p.m. In the Dome, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Both teams are 1-1 in the preseason. Can't wait to watch the rest of the Saints preseason. Sean Payton hasn't said it yet, but it's all but decided. Jameis Winston is likely going to be the starting quarterback. Yeah, barring something crazy happening tomorrow night. It just looks like all the emphasis is going to be on Jameis. Let's go ahead and get you to the Fox Business Report. After that, we're going to dial back in strong on Tropical Storm Ida. When we do Tech Gumbo coming up at 6:35, we're going to walk you through what you should be doing to prep for a hurricane from a tech perspective. It gets more and more important each and every year, or each and every hurricane season. So Haggai Davis is going to be in for a cup of Tech Gumbo coming up about 15 minutes from right now. Right now, though, here's the Fox Business Report. All right.
After the business report, just the break.
You say with that, yeah. It's a minute and then a 30-second news, and then start our block.
Good.
And I'll show you in here, it's going to be in my folder for Wednesdays when we do League Week Serve at 6:30, and here on Fridays for Tech Gumbo.
What?
2 USB drives.
Agco. He'll put the whole show on a USB,
Oh,
and then he'll leave one there for the next week and rotate them out, so he can upload them to his website. So I don't know why it doesn't just.
So when you go to CBS News
use a OneDrive.
at 6:31, just go ahead and look at that, it'll pop up on that screen.
I try not to ask questions.
There's also, let's have you intro for that.
So, okay, yeah.
Can you hand me that ink pen, please? All right, you have 13, 14, 15, and 16 in this segment? Okay. I'm hearing multiple things. There you go.
Come on, Jake. These are intuitive things. You just got to know this stuff. You have to take all the years' experience that he's been doing this and know that now.
Immediately.
If you need the Vulcan mind link, just let him know. He can. I mean, Chuck's good at it. He's seen all the sci-fi stuff.
Well, not all of it. I've never seen Firefly. I get crap about that all the time.
Neither.
How good could it be? It lasted one season.
No clue here.
Firefly, yeah, that's a.
I know what it is. I've just never seen any of it either.
I watched backdrop with the making of the season finale when they brought Luke back, and how they kept it a secret and all the technology and shit. I was like, this is amazing. Love
On,
the
on Disney?
Yeah, the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian. Probably spoiler alerts. If you didn't see that.
Oh, I did. I saw last night they're
Yeah, you didn't.
do the season.
You didn't have to see it. It was the most predictable thing ever. Like, everybody knew that was happening.
As soon as you saw the X-Wing show, you're just like, that's Luke Skywalker. Who else could it be?
Even before the X-Wing showed up, like as soon as they were cornered, it's like, okay.
Well, when they brought Grogu to that planet to reach out to like other Jedi in the universe, you knew at that point the only other one that was out there was Luke.
Yeah.
Because he was the last Jedi. They made a movie about it.
Yep. You know, fun.
624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We have Tech Gumbo coming your way at 6:35 right after we check our news, traffic, and weather at the bottom of the hour. Hey, in our next hour, looking forward to talking with John Pardue over at LSU. He's handling the whole wastewater surveillance of COVID-19. It's really been intriguing stuff, and it's really netted some results. I mean, it's easy to say, you know, man's looking through Dookie water. That's not what any kid talks about, you know, when they want to grow up, but it's really fascinating stuff, what they're doing. And like I said, netting results already. So talking with John Pardue at 7:15. Also next hour, Kelvin Hill with DPW is going to hop on board to talk a little bit about storm prep, what the city parish government is doing to get ready for the storm. That's all coming your way next hour. Right now, though, reshifting our focus back to Tropical Storm Ida. Ida is supposed to be on a northwesterly course until it hits landfall in Louisiana. It's supposed to come up to, well, right south of us and then hang a right, heading back towards Mississippi and then on up to Tennessee. When it's expected to make landfall, it's expected to make landfall just west of Morgan City. Now, as of yesterday, the little dots on the National Hurricane Center map just had H's across them. As of this morning's numbers, that last dot before landfall now has an M, which means major hurricane, which means wind speeds of over 110 miles per hour. It's kind of a big deal. Morgan City Mayor Lee Dragna says prep is underway, as usual, whenever a storm heads their way. People start clearing out the decks, and the city readies itself for flood prevention.
Well, we're prepping the seawall closures, gates on the seawalls. This area is used to having tropical storms and hurricanes.
Dragna says they've got a powerful pumping system and high seawalls, so water isn't that much of a concern. They've already done their yearly trimming of the branches near power lines as well.
Well, we're used to it, so, we had Andrew, we had Barry, we had multiple storms that I can remember, and we always come through it, always.
Barry, likely the most recent there. I mean, Andrew was in the 90s. So Barry, the most recent there. And while Barry wasn't a big thing for us, down in Morgan City, it did take a little bit of a toll. Now, should this track maintain, Lafourche Parish will be on the nastier side, the northeastern side of the storm. They're bracing for storm surge, heavy winds, and the potential for a lot of water to fall across the region. Lafourche Parish Sheriff spokesperson Brennan Mathern says if this current track holds, we could start seeing some evacuation orders as early as today.
We do expect that we could see some, especially in the southernmost areas, including Port Fourchon.
Mathern says if evacuation orders are issued, shelters will be made available either in Lafourche or other potentially safer areas. That might result in you being around a lot of other people at a time when COVID transmission is high.
As always, we encourage people, if they have the means, to evacuate on their own, to potentially visit family or book a hotel room out of town. That's always the best way to go.
That's going to be something interesting to hear from the governor. Governor's talking at 3:30 this afternoon. We will have it for you live right here on Talk 107.3 FM. In fact, now's a pretty good time to note, we'll be doing storm coverage from 1 p.m. until 6 p.m. this afternoon. Just getting you prepped and ready. Getting you prepped and ready for the storm. Governor at 3:30. Now, one of the things that I'm going to be looking for from the governor is Yes, it is still a COVID environment. Yes, we are still seeing numbers at a higher rate than we have in the past. Yes, we are seeing the Delta variant travel faster than other variants. So are we looking at this year like last year, where evacuating from hurricanes meant non-congregate settings, which essentially means hotels? It's a different scenario this year, to be sure, because hotels, by and large, are back in business. And the further you get away from the track of the hurricane, the more likely those hotels are to have business going on. More to the point, once the storm has passed through, it should be back to business as usual at those hotels as well. And if you're talking about any extended period of time, like last year during hurricane season, when Laura came through, hotels were appreciative of any business. But as we've heard from the Lieutenant Governor time and time again, as it is right now, occupancy is back up. Rate, however, is not yet. So is that going to be a determining factor? Like, can they get hotels for, I don't want to say a reasonable cost, but that's exactly, I mean, can they price line their way through this thing as a state? Can we? It's one of the things I'm looking for from the governor coming up this afternoon at 3:30. We're going to dive into Tech Gumbo in just a minute. As you're getting your storm prep done, need to tell you about the folks over at Mathern's Market. They've got 2 locations if you need to knock out some grocery shopping before the storm gets here. One is on 3rd Street in downtown. The other on the corner of Nicholson and Skip Burtman Drive. The plan was to be telling y'all about getting ready for tailgating, but we're going to have a little something before that. So if you need to knock out your storm prep grocery shopping, swing on by Mathern's this afternoon. Yes, they are on campus, but yes, they are a full-service supermarket available for everyone. If you download the Mathern's app, you can knock out that grocery shopping before you even leave work. Just pull in the parking lot and get it done. Or if you don't have lunch plans, swing on by. Salad bars open, deli counters open. Fantastic, very underrated lunch at either location of Mathern's. Downtown on 3rd or Nicholson in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. All right, we got CBS News coming your way in just a minute. When we come back from CBS News, Haggai Davis is going to be in for a cup of Tech Gumbo. We're going to walk you through storm prep from your tech perspective right in our Tech Gumbo segment today, Cup of Tech Gumbo segment today. Before we get you to news, I do need to remind you, since there is a storm headed this way, check out the Demco Storm Watch page. Part of everyone's storm prep should be checking out the Demco Storm Watch page. Make sure you have everything in order with the Demco Storm Watch page. Track the latest with Tropical Storm Ida with the Demco Storm Watch page. And, of course, keep it tuned right here throughout the weekend and on into the beginning of next week. The folks at Demco, we team up with them every single year to do this. This year is no different. Now that we've got a storm headed our way, it is all the more important. So, Demco Storm Watch page at talk1073.com. Let's get you to CBS News. I see that phone ringing. Check the external. I bet you we have 2 things running.
Yep.
Kill Fox, please.
It's not on. The pot's not on.
No, it's...
Oh, you're talking about in here.
yeah.
Get LR in your 6:30 news.
Yeah, there's some kind of errant command in the log that doesn't show up. It's in the background of the log, and no one knows how to delete it. So, thank you for the heads up. Yes.
I'm Jeff Palermo, the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge Newsroom. Tropical storm Ida is now expected to make landfall as a major hurricane along Louisiana's coastline Sunday afternoon. A landfall near St. Mary, Terrebonne, and Lafourche parishes seems most likely at this point. Morgan City Mayor Lee Dragna says whenever a storm heads their way, residents take the proper precautions, and the city readies its impressive flood prevention systems.
Well, we're prepping the seawall closures, gates on the seawalls. this area is used to having tropical storms and hurricanes.
So far, only Grand Isle has issued a voluntary evacuation, which may become a mandatory evacuation later today. Ida is expected to become a hurricane tomorrow once it gets into the Gulf. A year ago today, Hurricane Laura made landfall, but yet the city of Lake Charles continues to wait for major disaster relief.
I am just very disappointed in my federal government right now.
Lake Charles Mayor Nick Hunter says it's frustrating watching residents in limbo, unable to rebuild and the city to fully recover due to the lack of supplemental disaster aid. Hunter says it makes no sense a year after Laura, then Delta, a winter storm, and flooding in May that the city still hasn't received an answer, unlike other disasters who received funding in a timely manner.
We need the same equitable treatment here in Lake Charles.
I'm Brooke Thorington.
U.S. Health and Human Secretary Javier Becerra is in New Orleans today to meet with Governor Edwards and Mayor LaToya Cantrell to get an update on the state's fight against COVID, including vaccination efforts. New Orleans Congressman Troy Carter.
Anytime we have an opportunity to heighten awareness, bring attention, certainly having the Secretary of HHS come to the 2nd Congressional District is a big deal.
41% of the state's population is fully vaccinated. That's a look at news. I'm Jeff Palermo, Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge.
Because it would look cool. I mean, I kind of like having that black background. This looks good, too.
Yeah, I like that. It makes those colors pop more. Yeah, it's like that's what it does for me. I'm like, wait a minute, it was black and now it's white. Like, I'll tell you what.
Hurricane Andrew was
Ready for a drink already? Is
1992.
that what you want?
Yeah. Didn't I say that?
These are just early 90s.
Yeah.
What?
Hurricane
Oh,
Andrew.
no, I just from a historical perspective, 2 years ago was more recently than the 90s.
Yeah, no.
All right, what else we got? Tiffany says, want to congratulate you again on that awesome interview yesterday. Rush is going to be a great movie. Hey, you know what? It's out as of today in theaters, but also if you want to stream it while everyone's home with the hurricane stuff on Monday, it's a good time to do that. There's a new movie out called Rushed.
I heard the interview.
Okay. Speaking of 1992, that's when she was on SNL. So, good morning, Scott. How are you, sir? Good to see you in there, bud. So, yeah, well, she was fascinating. I could have talked to her for another hour, maybe more. I mean, and the crazy thing was, as soon as she started talking, the voice like re-triggered. Do you remember that scene from Men in Black when the guy wanted the sugar water and she's? Mm-hmm. It was like reverted right back to that, and I noticed it in the movie when I was watching the screen in the movie, but when it's just the voice over the phone, it like brought it more to the forefront. There's a scene at a dinner table where she's talking with other parents who have had their kid was a hazing victim, and it really comes to the forefront there too. So anyway, Rushed. It's gonna be good. It is good. To answer a previous question, Richard is to be determined for this afternoon. So. Only do 7 a.m. numbers, baby. All right, then. Yeah, I don't know if I had Mathern's there or not. I can do a make good later on if it was supposed to be later on. But
I don't think there was anything on there. So.
Okay.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, we were back a full minute and a half before I was expecting to be back. So, yeah, we were back before 24. Punk. What the crud, man? Oh.
Caps lock.
Yeah. Gotta hate that, huh? Son of a biscuit. There we go. Your daily briefing for Cortana. Cortana? It's not Cortana?
The mall was Cortana.
Well, this computer's so old. This computer's so old. This computer's so old. My daily briefing comes from Bon Marché.
Yeah. Spaghetti models have tightened up.
Cortana was the assistant in Halo, was it? The video game?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
I never played those kind of games, but that was a Microsoft created game. So Microsoft brought the digital assistant from Master Sergeant or Sergeant Master Chief. They brought that over, and so it's Cortana. Cortana.
It's Cortana.
Around here, yeah, but anywhere else in the world, it pronounces Cortana.
Tiffany says also, if you're doing storm coverage, will that be available to view on YouTube or on Facebook? That is also to be determined. There's a big conference call coming up at right after the show this morning, so I won't know all those answers till later today. I would bank on 1 to 6 today being on Facebook, though. .640. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time to welcome in Haggai Davis. Time for a cup of Tech Gumbo. Haggai!
Good morning, sir.
What's going on, man?
Ready for some storm prep.
I'm telling you. Can you just go ahead and clear your calendar for the next few days?
Pretty
I'm
much.
probably going to need you a little bit.
I'm here.
Brian, just got to look up at the screen, up the monitor there. You can. It is Jamboree weekend. This is not a tech-related thing. It kind of was brought to light. It's Jamboree weekend. You know, high school football's kicking off this weekend, and now we get our first storm. Yeah. LSU kicks off next weekend, and to map out the game week for LSU, it always starts on Monday with Ed Ogeron's press conference. We could be literally in the middle of a Category 2 hurricane while Ed Ogeron's press conference is going on.
It may not happen this week on Monday.
What, the presser? No. I'm banking that it's not. That is not an official word from LSU. That is merely the ramblings of a morning show host. All right, Tech Gumbo time. Cup of Tech Gumbo time. Yes. First of all, it's at least proper that we do a refresher.
Yes.
What should folks be doing today, tomorrow, and even Sunday morning leading up to the storm?
Okay, so if you're a business, the first thing you want to be doing is contacting your IT company that you work with.
Uh-huh.
And asking, what is their advice? How secure it, if you have a server on site, there's a probable chance that you will lose power over the weekend, Sunday or Monday.
Yes.
So it's probably a good idea to have your server, turned down or turned off.
Right.
But you have to do it properly, slowly. Instead of just having the power plugged, there's a proper way to have your server brought down. And you want to do that. You want to make sure you have a good backup of everything on your server before you do that. You want to make sure that you have at least 3 copies of your data, 3, 2, 1, like we've talked about many, many, many times.
For those that aren't familiar, what does 321 mean?
That means you have 3 different copies of your data in at least 2 different formats, being one on the server, maybe one on a network-attached device, and then you have the one is at least one of those 3 copies of your data is off-site somewhere, backed up in the cloud, backed up to a remote office that you have, so that all of your data is not in one place.
Right.
If your building, God forbid, takes a lightning strike or has a flash flood or catches fire and everything is on your server and on the network attached device next to your server and it all goes away, you're in trouble. So get your data off-site somewhere.
Okay. But Haggai, having anything off-site could be a security issue, could it not?
Not any more than having it on your server that's still connected to the internet. So no, if you have your data backed up on an offsite and you have good, safe, passwords to protect everything, that's not an issue.
What else should folks be doing?
So then you also need to start doing whether or not, you want to have all of your computers still plugged in. If you take a lightning strike to the building, lightning can go surging through all the electronics on your across your network and do serious damage.
Mm-hmm.
So how much do you want to be prepared? If most of your employees have laptops, have your employees take their laptops home with them this weekend. If there are desktop units, do you want to unplug the desktop? Do you want to, is it okay to leave it in? And you can't count on surge protectors from lightning.
Right.
So if there's going to be a lot of lightning with the storm, then there's a lot of potential damage that can happen. So how much prep do you want to do is based upon what your
What's the harm in just unplugging everything?
Well, you want to make sure you cycle the power down the right way. Don't, instead of just having your power, the plug pulled out of the wall, when you cycle down, you don't lose data. You don't do harm to files. The right way to do is to go through the full cycle down modes, and that way your server will come back up a whole lot easier. Your computers will start much easier. Yes, you can just pull the plug and hopefully it will come back. But Windows being Windows, it's always best to cycle it down instead of having just yanking the plug.
We're going to talk about things from a personal perspective, a homeowner's perspective, or a non-business perspective after the break. But one more before we head into the break. If you're powering everything down, how does it affect the network if, let's say, half your computers are powered down and unplugged, the other half are powered down and plugged in, or one guy left his stuff on? You can't do network damage through one particular PC.
Well, it depends. Depends on which damage. If you're talking about taking a lightning strike, then whatever is plugged into the wall,
mm-hmm.
and that means TVs, that means printers, that means any kind of electronic device. If you take a lightning strike to the building, there's a good chance you're going to have damage across any and all electronic devices in that building. If it's just a power outage, okay, that's not the worst thing in the world. It is better to have cycled the power down on all the devices in advance. Be prepared. It's much easier to cycle the power back on from your server, from your devices, from your computers, than it is after you have cycled down the proper way.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have an IT company that you're working with, call General Informatics. We will help you. We have people that 767-7670 or GENINF.com.
That's exactly where we're going to pick up when we get back, because I want to talk about that. There are a number of different businesses that have an influx, a rush of business just before a storm. The insurance world is one of them. In fact, most insurance writers shut it down yesterday at 5 p.m. We'll pick up on that after we get back. Plus, we're going to talk about your personal electronics after Your Money Now. So quick break, traffic, Your Money Now, then a cup of tech gumbo continues next on Talk 107.3. All right, now.
Troy's going back to the abacus. Troy, that's the safest thing you can use.
So here's where I want to go when we come back, is when we talk about the personal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If my power's out, do I still have the risk of a surge if lightning strikes?
Sure.
How?
you're still you still have wire in the wall.
Yeah, but there's nothing coming to it.
It's lightning. Lightning is power.
All right then. Ooh, can lightning turn things back on?
Momentarily.
Like
for a flash.
Like cousin Eddie's daughter on vacation gets kicked in the teeth by a mule. All eyes go cross-eyed. Falls down a well, they straighten right back out. Or maybe it was the other way around. I don't remember. Good Lord. The death toll in Kabul is now over 100.
I missed it yesterday. What happened?
There was an explosion at the airport.
It was a suicide bomber, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like 60 Afghanis and a dozen U.S. military. 11 Marines.
One of the stories we talked about on Tech Gumbo was this app that somebody created in for Kabul. It shows where the hot spots are, where the it's kind of like Waze, except for how to get around Kabul and avoid the checkpoints and things.
What? Yeah. Oh, see, why do we have to have a storm? That would be fun to talk about.
Oh yeah, there were some great stories this week.
Let's back up about 3 minutes on the back end of the segment to cover that, just to make sure. Stanley says, Brian, will you be staying in the morgue during the storm? First of all, there's a U in morgue. But secondly, no, I will not. Here's the thing, though. The cooler where we keep all the snacks is down there. That being said, after the show is over with this morning, we have a conference call to figure out what our game plan is going to be, staffing-wise. After that, I'm heading over to Go Slim Nutrition on Bluebonnet at Perkins for my weigh-in and to pick up all my meals for the next week. I can tell you right now, I'm picking up extra snacks from Go Slim, so I'm not slamming Doritos for 4 days.
This was the other cool title.
Is that the people that were asking for the money back?
No, that's a whole different story. This guy was pushing out ransomware because he was trying to raise money to create a Facebook type thing, a social media account for Nigeria. So the whole Nigerian prince thing was coming circle. This was a real story. But the guy was not that smart because he started giving up. He started communicating with people who he had pushed the ransomware into, and he gave up all kinds of information. They figured out who he was via LinkedIn. And he said, that's not me. I didn't do it. No. And then all of a sudden, here comes all the codes to release everything. Moron.
Jake, have you been down to the morgue yet?
I have not. I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah.
You can go hang out
So,
on the second floor on the other side for a bit as well.
why? It's creepy now that it's empty.
Super fucking creepy.
Now that, although all the lights are on this morning, I don't know why. I wasn't over there. So that side of the stairwell was actually the end of the building. This side of the buildings were relatively newer, but that side of the building used to be Baton Rouge General, the original location of Baton Rouge General Hospital, and the basement was the morgue. So yeah, interestingly enough, right next door to the kitchen. So weird to me.
In the original design plans,
That used to be a hospital.
well, like,
Yes.
Yeah.
that's just interesting planning.
Yeah, but when you walk down into the basement, that you're going to have a long hallway and then a door to your left. Behind that door is the cooler. Yeah. No, we have no. Our cooler's separate. It's newer. It's better. It's like
I just thought about that. I was like, wait a minute.
no dead people that we know of. Hey, Chuck. Tony Lightfoot's in there, I think. I don't know. Not kidding. 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Cup of Tech Gumbo rolling right along as part of Mornings with Brian Haldane. We're going to have the CBS World News Roundup coming your way in just a little bit. Now, since we're stepping away from our normal Cup of Tech Gumbo segment to talk specifically about storm prep, I do want to reserve a couple minutes on the back end to talk about the this week's episode of Tech Gumbo. Is y'all are covering a lot of cool stuff this week, Haggai.
Yes.
But we got to dive back in from a storm prep standpoint. Now, when there's a storm headed this way, a number of different industries see an influx in business. Grocery stores, insurance companies. How about y'all?
Absolutely. We get we started our yesterday afternoon, reaching out to our clients and saying, okay, do we need to go ahead and cycle down your power? How much, when was the last time, your data backed up? Because not everyone runs backups daily, some back up weekly. And so if you haven't run a backup yet this week, let's back it up now, get it done so that you don't have to run around crazy kind of doing things over the weekend. Let's take care of whatever we need to take care of now.
What about new business? Do y'all get calls of like, yeah, we just started our business a couple months ago, been kind of flying by the seat of our pants, but we don't want to run the risk of our first hurricane season and losing everything?
Not so much, because most times you've already, even when you're starting a business, you've found an IT company to work with. I'm not going to say it doesn't happen, because it does occasionally where, something like this is happening. Hey, I do need some help. I've not been working with an IT company, or the guys that I was working with I'm not happy with anymore. Can you help us now? Yeah. And it's a little more stressful to kind of walk into a situation like this and try and, take over somebody's IT department, for them, or IT network in a fast-paced world. But it's not to say we can't and won't.
Let's shift the focus now to personal electronics.
Yes.
Because while everybody's going to be getting their businesses prepped today, come Monday, it ain't going to be all right. Come Monday is when this thing is going to be rolling through town. So everyone should be at home by then. What should people be doing, to prep at home? And then we'll talk about some of the scenarios for once the power's out.
So it's the same kind of thing. If you're at home, you have a computer with all the pictures of your kids as they've been growing up on your computers. If you, all of your important docs, if you have your taxes and everything that you've been keeping electronically in your computer, make a copy of your data. If you don't have one, get a OneDrive account, Google Docs, whatever you have some kind of a way to back up all of your data off-site somewhere. Get it in the cloud. Yes, it's safe to have your data in the cloud. And that way, if you take a lightning strike at the house, because lightning does hit houses and it will fry all the electronics in your house as well. So don't lose your data, because, if you have a desktop computer at the house, when the storm is raging, everybody wants to get online and everything. It's not a bad idea to cycle the power down on the computer and then unplug it from the wall. Entirely unplug it from the wall.
I would recommend any PC at home.
Yes, if you have a laptop, obviously, okay, that's not directly plugged into anything in the wall. That's fine. You'll be okay. You have to worry about, should you take a lightning strike, it's going to, it could hit your Wi-Fi routers, the modems, all of those devices. So those things are in jeopardy. If you're not worried about that, because modems are easy to replace, okay, fine. Leave it in for as long as you have power, and you can stay online. When the power does go out, remember, you can still use your phones to get online. You can get all kind of data. You can hit the Talk 107.3 website to get information on your phone
via the Demco Stormwatch page. Absolutely,
we got to throw that in there.
Yep.
And so there's still things you can do. You can if you have a laptop, you can create a hotspot with your cell phone and get online that way to get your data.
Now, power goes out. Let's talk about triaging that which needs to be recharged.
Yes.
That's is how much. Okay, so you fill up the generator. Keep your generator outside. You fill up the generator. You run the extension cord back inside. How much power does recharging your phone really pull off of the generator?
Oh, your phone's not going to hardly pull anything. A generator's not going to notice that. because you're going to want to keep your refrigerator going,
Right.
and things like that. Recharging, laptops, cell phones, those types of things, it's not going to take a whole lot of juice. So that's not a big deal doing that. It's no more than you can go out to your car.
Well, so that's where I was going. So the number of people that just go out to their car, they'll either turn the car on, plug the phone in, and go back inside, or they'll just hang out in the car. And
You don't even have to turn your car on all the way just to charge your cell phone. It draws so little power.
Yeah.
It
depends on the car, though.
Well,
mine won't charge when the car's off.
If you just roll a key over one time.
Oh, yeah.
Without actually, starting the engine and burning the gas that you might want to keep on hand.
Gotcha. All right, what's coming up on full serving of Tech Gumbo? What's coming up on Tech Gumbo this weekend? Because folks might have a little more free time to listen to some podcasts. So what do we got?
Absolutely. So we're gonna there was a group of folks in Kabul, Afghanistan. The EHTES Thab, I think is how you pronounce it. They created an app, and so like if you're driving around Kabul and trying to find how to get to the airport and avoid the checkpoints and avoid hotspots, and they created an app. It's kind of like Waze for Kabul to get around safely.
What are those hotspots I'm looking at there? There's like blue dots and red dots and an exclamation point on one dot. I can't imagine what that is.
I don't know exactly what they are. I just know that where the red spots, that's fire going on. It's just traffic.
Wow. Yeah. Look at that.
I mean, it's a really cool app that this thing is saving people's lives.
It's like ways for checkpoints and terror attacks.
Yes.
That is crazy. One of the many topics that will be covered on this week's Tech Gumbo, which you can get, well, it'll be on Saturday and Sunday at 4. We might be preempting you on Sunday.
Probably will be preempted on Sunday. That's
fair
okay.
warning.
But there's always the podcast.
Exactly. Saturday and Sunday at 4, normally on Talk 107.3 FM, or available anywhere you get your podcasts, or talk1073.com on demand, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Tech Gumbo. Check out every weekend, and every Friday, Haggai joins me right here for this segment. I appreciate it.
You bet.
Here comes CBS News.
Sure it will.
Yeah, well.
It will, and it's okay.
Liar.
The good news is nothing you do out here is going to have anyone killed. I mean, so somebody goes 10 seconds with some silence. Okay, it's not the worst thing. I hear you.
The ID is an important one, though, because there are people out there who will just listen, and if we miss one, they'll report us to the FCC. Yeah. Bitter people who... Well, it shouldn't be a problem. It didn't used to be a problem, but...
Like, all of a sudden, it's become a big deal.
Yeah, which makes me wonder who it is that's calling it in. But even the FCC is like, don't worry about it. Because legally, all we're required to do is when we come back in, when I start the second hour, we'll be within 10 minutes of the top of the hour, like 6:50 to 7:10. You have a 20-minute window to clear an ID. And like, you can play the legal ID. But all I have to say is, this is WBRP Baker Baton Rouge. That's it. And we're in the clear. So, don't worry about it.
Here's a headline for you, Brian.
What?
Man dies from using adhesive instead of condom during sex.
Oh, man, the dick glue.
Adhesive instead of a condom, because he didn't have any.
What would he just tape his thing up?
Spray adhesive.
Flex Seal!
Do you need me to stick around, or are you okay for the morning?
No, we're good for the morning.
All right.
I need you more for Monday. So, well, probably Sunday. Probably Sunday if that's cool.
Yeah.
And then, Monday after it's passed, because
What time are you thinking Sunday?
Don't know yet.
Okay.
Let me get through this phone call.
I've got 11 o'clock mass captain.
Oh no, shit! It wouldn't be until after noon.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going. Well, I'm going at 9 a.m. But yeah.
Mass captain for 11 mass.
What does that mean, mass captain?
You coordinate. You got to make sure all of the electors are there. You got to make sure all the altar servers are there. You got to set up the altar. You got to bring all the host stuff and everything beforehand. You set up.
Sacristan.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I don't know all the technical terms. I'm real.
I like mass captain. I'm gonna tell Fred that one. It's yeah, the term we use, mercy is sacristan. I don't know what the technical term is, if there is one or not, but
That's the actual term.
yeah, I like mass captain.
It's much more fun.
Yes.
So
I did it Wednesday. It went 5 minutes into the segment coming back without all of it.
Yeah. Drink the leftover wine. My wife is an extraordinary minister, so I know that procedure pretty well. All right. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, I'll text you later today. Debbie says Charity in New Orleans has the same kitchen/morgue. Well, it would make sense back in that time when, electricity wasn't what it is today. So from a wiring standpoint, just put everything in one area that would require that. What? Oh. Yeah, I'm hoping that 9:30 phone call we can go over Tito's needs.
Yeah, exactly.
I will fly through a handle over the weekend.
Reach out to Sugarville Spirits. Can y'all donate for the weekend?
I still haven't had their bourbon, damn it.
It's good. It's really good.
It's what I'm told.
Yeah.
I just bought myself a bottle of unlimited 14 yesterday.
All right.
For the weekend.
There it is.
I got a Glenfiddich that was given to me. It's I think a 12 year. It's nice.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, I like the space odyssey.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, 7 o'clock we do not carry their spot. 8 o'clock we do. That spot right there is really a PSA. So. Later, Haggai.
For CBS News at 8 o'clock, it will do 3 minutes of news and 1 minute commercials. You won't be having to listen to it. Like, it's 4 minutes past the hour. You don't have to worry about that. Like right at 4 minutes, you can kill that pot and then run traffic. So traffic, hour 2. And then you got top stories and trending. Remember what I showed you for that? Just getting back in, I'll show you.
Yeah, I'll have another one. .706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Hour 2 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Jake Barty producing, already getting to the Swedish House Mafia, which is good. That's part of your indoctrination, and you should enjoy it thoroughly. Hey, we got a busy hour for you this hour. We will have John Pardue with us in our next segment. He has been heading up this wastewater investigation or reconnaissance, if you will, for COVID-19 on LSU's campus, and it's already netting results. I mean, the first day or two of school, they already knew that, or I should say even before school started, they were able to tell as kids were moving back in, what buildings were showing traces of COVID-19 through the Dookie water. So, I mean, it's wastewater. It's fascinating to me. Anyway, this is proving to be a very effective program. He will join us in our next segment. Also this hour, Kelvin Hill, excuse me, I left out the L, from DPW is going to join us at 7:35 to talk about what the city parish is doing to prepare for Tropical Storm Ida, which by tomorrow is expected to be Hurricane Ida. It is, and we will have the latest on Ida as part of our Top Stories and Trending, which starts now. Yeah, same. Governor John Bell Edwards declares a state of emergency ahead of Ida's landfall and has a press briefing scheduled for today. The governor will hold a news briefing at 3:30 p.m. this afternoon. Now, normally on Fridays he has a 1:30 briefing about COVID. He's going to be with the Unified Command Group at that point, the Unified Command Group, about the storm. Governor's got a full slate today, as I believe there's some federal officials that will be in New Orleans. HHS Secretary, I believe, will be in New Orleans earlier in the day. So he'll go from that to Unified Command Group to get the latest on Tropical Storm Ida. Press briefing at 3:30. We will carry it for you right here. Our extended coverage of Ida begins today at 1 p.m. So it'll be me and Kevin Ford at 1, Governor at 3:30, and then to be determined. I'll be here, but co-hosts will be to be determined up until 6 p.m. A man was shot over 9 months ago and has now passed away from injuries sustained in that attack. Baton Rouge Police Department said 27-year-old Robert Jones passed away Thursday. Police said he died as a result of his injuries he suffered in a shooting on November 22nd of 2020. November 22nd. He shares the... Never mind. I was going to make a John F. Kennedy reference, but no. Jones was not hospitalized at the time he died, but authorities said he had been bedridden since the shooting. Investigators still haven't determined a potential motive nor suspect in that shooting. Area sandbag locations as Ida approaches, and yes, we will have this information for you throughout the morning, actually throughout the weekend as well, if you want to get some sandbags to get ready for tropical storm, soon to be, well, by tomorrow, Hurricane Ida. In Central, Breck's Lovett Road Park, that's 13443 Lovett Road. In Baton Rouge, the Airline Highway Fairgrounds, Olson Park, Cadillac Street Park, Doyle's Bayou Park, Hartley Bay at Gardier Park, Lovett Road Park, well, that's right back to the one I said from Central, Memorial Stadium, and Flannery Road Park. That's where you will find your sandbags. Another 5,000 COVID cases were reported yesterday. However, it wasn't all bad news when it came to COVID. 5,131 cases reported yesterday. A positivity rate, get this, 8.8%. Yes, we dipped below 10% for a positivity rate. Hospitalizations dropped to 2,729. That's a decrease of 115 from the day before. Now, while there is positive news, there's also a lot of sad news as well. 72 additional deaths reported since Wednesday, including a juvenile that the 14-year-old from Baker High that we talked about yesterday. Another 59,000, close to 60,000 vaccine doses were administered across the state since Monday, continuing Louisiana's trend of growing vaccination numbers. Nearly half the state has gotten at least their first shot of the vaccine since last Thursday. All right, here is the latest on Tropical Storm Ida. Ida is, maximum sustained winds are up to 60 miles per hour. Boy, that does not bode well this early in the morning, as Ida is not expected to be a full-on hurricane until tomorrow. However, maximum sustained winds of 60 miles an hour. Ida is moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. Now, the actual coordinates, if you're scoring at home, do we even get the tracking maps anymore? 20.3 north, 81.7 west. Ida is moving toward the northwest near 15 miles per hour. This general motion should continue over the next few days. On the forecast track, the center of Ida will move away from the Cayman Islands this morning, pass near or over the Isle of Youth and western Cuba later today, and move over the southeastern and central Gulf of Mexico tonight and Saturday. The system is forecast to approach the U.S. northern Gulf Coast on Sunday. Ida still projected to make landfall just west of Morgan City as a major hurricane late Sunday afternoon. That is a look at your top stories. Here is a look at what's trending this morning. Stepping away from storm coverage for just a minute, you heard a lot about this during CBS News. 2 suicide bombers and gunmen attacked crowds of Afghans flocking to Kabul's airport Thursday, transforming a scene of desperation into one of horror in the waning days of an airlift for those fleeing the Taliban takeover. The attacks killed at least 100 people. We know of at least 12 U.S. troops that have died in the attack. General Frank McKenzie, head of the U.S. Central Command, told Pentagon reporters in a briefing yesterday, he says, quote, "We are working very hard right now to determine attribution, to determine who's associated with this cowardly attack, and we're prepared to take action against them." That is your top stories and what's trending. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll check in at LSU on monitoring wastewater to get ahead of the game when it comes to COVID. That's next. Once in a lifetime.
Yeah, like if you're while you're doing that segment, as soon as you see the hotline ring, headphones, and like I said, just pick it up. Just be like talking to 7 through this whole, put them on hold, and then when you go to commercial, pick it up, make sure it's a yes, and just tell them we're having a break, trying to get them to come back. Just put them on hold. Any of these other ones, I don't worry about. 9 out of 10 times it's some idiot wanting to talk about something that's not important. But always on that hotline.
Well, if you see 3 or 4 of them light up at the same time, it usually means we're off the air or 2 things are running at once. Yeah, I've been having a shoulder issue. So 3 years ago, playing stupid church league softball, I was producing for Moscona. Our game started at 7. I got out at like 6:40 was when I was able to leave here. So I flew right over to the ballpark and didn't warm up or anything. I just went straight to the outfield. Of course, the first batter on the first pitch hits the ball to the fence in right center field. I go flinging it back to try and cut him down before he gets a double, and just no warm up, no nothing. And ever since then, I probably should go to BRPT Lake about this. But it doesn't bother me normally. Every once in a while, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I don't. The hell is this song?
Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack. David Bowie.
Okay.
I just might go and speak in Spanish too.
715 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. So, how can we stay ahead of COVID through wastewater? This is something that Dr. John Pardue has been taking on and being, well, I mean, quite innovative when you break it down. He joins us now. Dr. Pardue, good morning. How are you, sir?
Morning, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you on here. I got to tell you, the first time I read about this story, I was just baffled by it. Wastewater. This is what we're thinking it is, right?
It is. It is. Well, it's sink, shower, toilet. So all that water mixed together. That's a composition. But yeah, it's confusing to people. It's a respiratory virus. So why are you going there?
Exactly. I'm not making the connection between a respiratory virus and what we flush. So,
right. So yeah, early on, you know, when the disease was first identified, people looked everywhere. You know, where is the virus leaving the body? And like a lot of viruses, it leaves through when you go to the bathroom. It sheds through that process, and we use that just simply as a signal to determine where sick people are in the neighborhood or in the dorm or anywhere where people are going to the bathroom.
All right, we're going to get to process in just a minute, and I mean y'all's process, not the digestive process. We're going to get to y'all's process in just a minute, but first, I got to brag on the results a little bit because y'all netted some pretty good alerts before before classes started.
Right, yeah, in that first week, really, you know, prior to classes being started, we identified a spot, in Sorority Row that we had never triggered before, but again, came up with, you know, a dozen or so sick folk and pulled them out, and were able to prevent that from spreading further. So that's the idea. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Now, okay, so Sorority Row, that's a pretty general area. Are y'all able to narrow it down to the house from there, or is it Sorority Row enough to start testing from that point?
We could. You know, we're limited by the pipes that are already in place to kind of move wastewater around to be treated. So we have manholes, or we have little pits where the system naturally works that way, or has been designed that way when the buildings were constructed. So, you know, we could go to each individual house, but it would be with the number of people living on campus, that would be time prohibitive to do that. So we're trying to monitor about 500 to 1,000 kids at each location, and that's worked well so far.
Not to get too detailed on this, but Lot Cook is on sorority row as well. Is it possible that this wasn't in the houses but came from somebody who was just staying at the hotel?
That's definitely possible that we occasionally have places where we monitor that include other things. One of the fraternity house monitoring points also includes the president's office. So, you can't separate those out without going to testing the students.
Absolutely. Dr. John Pardue is our guest. We're talking about evaluating wastewater to stay ahead of the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so let's talk process just a little bit. I mean, what goes into this research?
Well, it's really a partnership between myself. I'm an environmental engineering professor on campus, so we're kind of the water wastewater guys. That's really our area of expertise. And then we partner with a virologist from the vet school, Gus Kasoulis. Gus is an expert in coronaviruses. He can measure their concentrations in his lab. So we have, a dozen or so people who do this every week. We go out at these locations. Everybody who sleeps on campus is monitored once a week. And so we collect these samples from the dorms in the mornings when people are kind of waking up, and take those back to the lab. It takes about a 2-day process, and measure effectively how much of the virus is in the water at different points.
Is this like a needle in a haystack sort of scenario, or is it pretty prevalent when you see it?
It's actually pretty prevalent. It's kind of scary how easy it is to see it when it's there. We've been monitoring also in East Baton Rouge Parish at the big wastewater plant. So again, this is all the water coming from 100,000 people or so in South Baton Rouge, and we've very rarely it's non-detect. It's of course right now during Delta it's a very high number, but we can see it pretty easily without a whole lot of trouble.
And can you tell, like, well, I don't want to say how many people, but can you tell, like, we're looking at least 10 people because of the amount that we found, that sort of thing?
Sure, there's variability in people's symptoms and how much of this they shed. But we have a good idea. We knew that number that we measured in the sorority row sampling location was probably going to be somewhere between 10 and 20, and that's exactly what it was. What we're trying to do with this thing is, we don't want outbreaks to get too bad. We're trying to let it get started. The next week, let's catch it. Let's get those people out, because most of them don't know they're sick. Most of these folks are asymptomatic. They're just walking around and not maybe feeling a little bad, but not really feeling, the full impact of the disease like an older person might.
Dr. John Pardue is our guest. We're talking about evaluating the wastewater to stay ahead of the COVID-19 curve. And that's an important part to talk about, though, is you said it's a 2-day process. Do we know how long someone can be positive before they're exhibiting it in their waste?
We think we can catch them, before they start really feeling symptoms. But, it shows up in their waste pretty quickly after they get the virus. Okay. Now, we can catch a couple of days ahead of time before they really start feeling symptoms. So we get a little bit of an early warning, but that's probably not as important as just the fact that we can go to these different places, and, a different dorm maybe every week will show, a level above our trigger point, and that causes us then to go in and do the testing.
You ever been at a crawfish boil and someone asks, who was the first person that thought up eating a crawfish?
That's right.
So I got to ask the question, who came up with this?
Yeah, it's interesting. We've been doing this actually in the field for a while. This isn't a new thing with coronavirus. This is the way that we find out who has polio. So polio has been eradicated, of course, in the U.S. for many, many years. And across the world, there's only about 3 or 4 countries left that have polio. Pakistan, Afghanistan, a few other countries in Africa. And to find those needle in a haystack people, that virus is still circulating around, they use this method. They go to a wastewater plant in one of these big cities and measure for polio, and then they track that back in the system to try to find out where these families are that maybe it's still circulating. So this is not a new thing by any stretch. It's just that a lot of people are doing it now. Lots of cities, lots of schools all over the world.
Would this just be for viruses, or can more be obtained from this information?
You can. I mean, in Europe, this is one of the ways they track cocaine use in the big cities of Europe, is they have a monitoring network, and they can go into the wastewater and just say, okay, in the city of Amsterdam and the city of Zurich, Switzerland, here's how many, how much cocaine residue we're seeing this year, and so you can get that information as well. So there's lots of things you can measure in wastewater. It's anonymous, and so as long as the data is being used properly, you avoid some of the ethical issues of just testing lots of people without their permission.
But the ability to narrow it down, I keep coming back around to that, if it takes 2 days to test and you can catch it pretty early on, you can get hold of somebody within their first week of contraction.
You can. And, we never really last year saw much transmission in classrooms. We never had a situation where we said, in Dr. Pardue's, Tuesday, Thursday class, 10 kids came down with it after class last week. We never saw that. What we did see was, there's 5 kids in the suite that all have it at the same time, in this dorm, and the congregate setting, these dorms, nursing homes, those are really the places that we're seeing spread. It's not really happening in campus apartments, where you just have one roommate.
Right.
It's not like it is in a dorm, where you're all up and down the hall, sharing a bathroom. Maybe you're sitting down talking with people in the room downstairs with the TV, and all those things just leads to this. So this is really a key place for us to target, and that's what we're doing with this method.
What's next with this method, this information? Where do we go from here?
Well, what we're trying to do, of course, is last year we didn't start until after the first month of class, and we knew when we got started that we were going to trigger a lot. As people moved around together, and there are certainly a lot of unvaccinated kids in the dorms, and so we knew that both they and the vaccinated kids who get a breakthrough infection, we're going to have some dorms to trigger. So we triggered one last week. We've triggered a few this week, and those students are all being tested yesterday and today. And we'll continue doing this, and we think we'll reach in a couple of weeks or so where we're just triggering once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks a dorm. And so right now it's all hands on deck, trying to keep everything under control. But we think it's really a key thing. It's a key way for us to stay open, and safely keep everybody on campus without a lot of kids being sick and then going out into Baton Rouge and keeping the pandemic going. That's really what we want. We don't want to be the problem in town. And it's working well so far. No,
absolutely. And yeah, a holistic approach to get everything has to work in conjunction with each other in order to keep everybody open and functioning as it is right now. And this is just one of the many tools in the tool belt. Dr. John Pardue, I can't thank you enough for the time this morning, man. Appreciate it.
Brian, good luck. Talk to you soon.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Thanks. It's gross, but it's simultaneously that's amazing to me. Anyway, my appreciation to Dr. John Pardue. By the way, LSU's got a pretty fantastic COVID-19 dashboard to follow along as well, which I would highly recommend that. Hey, we're going to talk with Kelvin Hill, EBR DPW, in our next segment. What's the city doing to get ready for what is now Tropical Storm Ida, what will be by tomorrow Hurricane Ida. In the meanwhile, though, before we do that, tell you a couple of other things as well. First of all, sandbag locations. We had them last segment. Give them to you one more time right here. Airline Highway Fairgrounds, Alson Park, Cadillac Street Park. This is, by the way, just in EBR. We'll have more for you in the outside end as well. Doyle's Park, Hartley Bay at Gardier Park, Lovett Road Park, Memorial Stadium, or Flannery Road Park. If you need a map, go to gis.brla.gov/emergency. Or just type Red Stick Ready into your Googles, and you'll end up getting there from there. You can navigate from Red Stick Ready. Also, don't forget to check out the Demco Storm Watch page at talk1073.com to follow the storm, get yourself prepared and ready to roll along the way. Oh, one more thing. And you know what? We'll dive into this in just a second. I do need to tell you one more time about the folks from Mathern's. They're getting you ready for the storm. Full-service grocery store right there on Nicholson Drive at Skip Burtman Drive. The Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Pull on in, get stocked up, get ready for Ida to roll on through. Maybe if you want to stock up on craft beers. I know it's on a lot of people's grocery list. Chuck's hand goes up in the air quickly on that one. Stock up on craft beers. They just revamped a lot of things over there, and they are ready for you at Mathern's right now. Also, 3rd Street downtown has everything you need as well. Step in the vault to grab the wine if you're in the downtown location. But Mathern's on 3rd or Nicholson in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. And, the plan was to be telling you all about getting ready for tailgating, but we do have a little storm to get through before that. So make sure you are ready for Ida with Mathern's. Since it is a good day to prepare, and I do appreciate our partnership with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber as well, got to let you know that their disaster and preparedness response page, full of information. Like, now is the time to be preparing in real life, but also preparing for what you're going to need once the storm gets here. The Chamber's disaster preparedness and response page does that. It says, quote, natural disaster planning and preparedness should be a consideration for businesses of all sizes. Studies have shown that more than 70% of small businesses do not have a disaster plan or adequate insurance, and that a quarter of small and mid-sized businesses impacted by a major event do not reopen. Those numbers are stark and alarming, especially when you consider where small businesses the length small businesses had to go to just to stay afloat over the last 18 months. So check out the Chamber's website. Make sure you are fully prepared for this storm or any storm in the future. As, you've had enough problems with COVID. We don't need the hurricane season adding to that. All right, what is the city parish doing to get ready for Ida? We're going to talk with Kelvin Hill in our next segment. If you were just tuning in, the latest on Tropical Storm Ida, maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. Those are the 7 o'clock numbers. That is strong to start off the morning. The National Hurricane Center says Ida will be a major hurricane before making landfall. All of Louisiana's Gulf Coast is under a hurricane watch right now. Looking like landfall is going to be sometime late afternoon on Sunday, just west of Morgan City. So we got the weekend to get ready. Just mapping things out. Tomorrow's probably going to be a pretty slow day as far as tracking the storm is concerned, provided, of course, it stays on its current path. Modeling for this bad boy is the greatest level of agreement I've ever seen in modeling. Like, all the different models are kind of pointing in the same direction, with a few stragglers here and there, which kind of tells me if everyone agrees where this thing's going, then let's be ready, because they're all pointing at us. All right, we're going to check CBS News. We're going to check traffic. We're going to check weather. And then let's talk about prep in the city with Kelvin Hill next. Do what? Okay. Curious. Huh?
I'm Jeff Palermo, the Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge Newsroom. The National Hurricane Center says Tropical Storm Ida is strengthening over the Northwest Caribbean Sea, and Ida is forecast to be a Category 3 major hurricane at landfall on Sunday. A landfall near Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes seems most likely at this point. Christopher Bannon is with the National Weather Service in New Orleans.
Well, it's looking like landfall could be, sometime midday, late morning Sunday, and it could even be faster than that. That's why we're trying to let people know that you could see tropical storm force winds along the coast as early as Saturday evening.
Today is the one-year anniversary of Hurricane Laura's devastating landfall in southwest Louisiana. That region also experienced Hurricane Delta, a winter storm in February, and more flooding in May. Lake Charles Mayor Nick Hunter says they are still waiting on the federal government to provide assistance to rebuild homes.
What we've been through with 4 federally declared natural disasters over 10 months, more than any other American city, it is unconscionable that we have not received supplemental disaster aid to help people rebuild.
According to the National Hurricane Center's official forecast track, the eye of Ida could pass right over or very close to Morgan City. Matt Doyle says the coastal city in St. Mary Parish is ready.
Morgan City Mayor Lee Dragna says they're no strangers to big storm systems, but the city is built to absorb these kinds of blows.
Our drainage system is really good. Our levee system is really good, and all of our personnel with the city have prepped all of our equipment, checked everything out, filled it up with fuel, got all our tanks filled up, and we're ready to work.
They're not taking it lightly.
When they start getting to the north of the Gulf of Mexico where that water gets really hot, when it shallows up, they tend to jump in category pretty quick.
I'm Matt Doyle.
Ida is expected to enter the southeastern Gulf tonight or early Saturday and reach major hurricane status right before it makes landfall on Sunday. A hurricane watch is in effect for coastal Louisiana. Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge.
Do what? Did I? Oh, I was supposed to. Did I miss that one? Okay. Sorry, I'll hit it here. Well, it's supposed to be done in the time frame because it falls at a different time every day. Yeah, that's on me. My bad. Yeah, you had mentioned that one as we were going into the cup of that gumbo. I got distracted by. All right. Yeah. Well. Tiffany says if you and Christy are still playing, you need to give Clint a call. He really is an outlet. So I wish we could, but it's a church league, so y'all are more than welcome to start attending Mass with us, and we can work from there. Oh, news should not play on YouTube.
You have no more LRN stats unless he tells you he's going for consumption systems. Keep that out for unless he says, hey, I'm going to play these spots again.
I don't think I've got any more. I might at 8:30, but the problem with calling on sound bites in storm coverage is anything that's more than 2 hours old is old because every 3 hours we get new numbers from the National Hurricane Center. Yeah. So, like, I even hesitated to call on those ones from the mayor of Morgan City because this wasn't projected to be a major storm when those sound bites were cut.
Yeah, I just told him to hold on in case it was a specific quote
concerning
that, in case you wanted to replay it back there.
Let me make sure Eachus is still good to go. Van says, what's the rain forecast for Baton Rouge with the storm? Dr. Josh Eachus is set to join us at 8:15. That question will be on the... It goes sideways. The rain forecast is big old fat rain. Sideways rain. Where's your boy at? Clint says he will gladly attend Mass with you. It's hey, if y'all are ready to, like, roll and become Catholic, to play softball, whatever the motivation is, we'll take it. Yeah, like other cuts for this morning, Tropical Storm Ida has formed. Well, yeah, we're beyond that now. Yeah. I might as well be like, we landed on the moon! What? No way!
He was supposed to walk directly out. He just decided to stop and look at that.
Hmm? Yeah. Am I calling him? Kelvin Hill will call you at 7:30 a.m. .738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Supposed to be talking with Kelvin Hill about prep from a city parish perspective when it comes to Tropical Storm Ida. Kelvin is the Assistant Chief Administrative Officer over DPW. Supposed to be connected with him in this segment. I just sent out a text. Hopefully we can do that to talk about what the city is doing to get ready for what will be Hurricane Ida when it does hit Sunday into Monday. One of the things we were talking about, though, earlier when it comes to Ida is the level of agreement that we're seeing. Now, a lot of folks, when storms roll around, start following spaghetti models, those that are projecting where the storm will head. And I'm going to tell you, this is the most tightly packed I've seen spaghetti models more than 3 days out. And you don't even have the outlier. Like, oftentimes you'll have where of the dozen or so models that are out there, maybe 8 of them will point at one city, and then 2 will be pointed further to the west and 2 will be pointed further to the east, or 2 will be pointed further to the west and one guy has to go into Coral Gables. Like, there's always something way, way off. One guy who's like, or one forecaster who's like, nah, man, y'all all have this wrong. Y'all all think this is going to Pensacola. It's not. It's going to Galveston. Like, that's not happening this time around. Everyone has this thing running within the same general path, and that path runs us through Louisiana. Now, the farthest east we're seeing is closer to Grand Isle. The farthest west we're seeing is just west of Morgan City. So it's a pretty narrow cone, if you will. I know we don't want to use that term for the spaghetti models, but it's a pretty narrow width from one side to the other. But everyone's got it going right up the gut. Most of them have it coming right through Baton Rouge, and it is expected to be a major hurricane when it makes landfall, which means a lot of prep work is needed, which is why we talk with Kelvin Hill, who joins us right now. Kelvin, good morning. How are you, sir? Is he on the board? There you go. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm fine. How are you?
Doing all right. You've got a busy morning ahead of you. You got a busy weekend ahead of you. So from our listeners' perspective, what is your office up to in the hours leading up to a storm?
Well, we pull out our hurricane check sheet, and we be sure we walk through everything we're supposed to do to be prepared. So we're looking at our generators. We're topping off fuel tanks for those. We're looking at sand inventories. We're topping off the sand and sandbags for our residents so they have ability to get to them. We're looking at our outfalls. We're snagging and clearing brush and debris, anything that would hinder or impede drainage. We're trying to get out of the way and prepare for the storm that's headed our way. So the crews have been out. They've been busy. We've got over 6,000 streets that we'll check here the next 2 days. So they started early this morning on that process, and they'll work their way through that, and they'll fix what they find.
Let's talk about cleaning out some of those canals and whatnot, because this has been something that's been at the forefront. Honestly, since the May flooding. So, how much emphasis has been put there, and where do we stand right now as far as impediments are concerned? I mean, are things looking better than normal?
Oh, absolutely. Given all the work that we've done, especially the last couple of months, we're significantly better shape than we've been. We pulled over 2.6 million pounds of debris out of our storm drain system. We've cleaned close to 2,700 structures, and that process is continuing, and that puts us in real good shape versus kind of where we've been historically.
2.6 million pounds of debris.
That's right.
That's
a lot.
Okay. Well, so just for perspective, give us some examples of what that debris is. Is that thrown in by man? Is that garbage, or is that growth? Is that nature? What are we looking at there?
Well, think of it this way. Anything that kind of gets into the street and runs down a drain box kind of gets stuck in there and builds up over time. So it's limbs, leaves, grass clippings, it's trash. We pulled out signs. We pulled out metal plates. We pulled out paint cans. I mean, we pulled out all kinds of stuff in that 2.6 million pounds. So, that all that says is we need to be more mindful of what is allowed to get in those drains, and we need to be mindful of kind of how we kind of handle trash and debris at the street level.
Have y'all been given any update at MOSEP as to the duration of this storm, what it's expected, how long it's expected to hover over Baton Rouge?
No, I don't have that information yet. I'm expecting to get briefed early this morning and again this afternoon. So hopefully we'll get some information along those lines once we get through those briefings.
Kelvin Hill's our guest, talking about what DPW does to get ready before a storm. Kelvin, if I could, switch over to what happens once the storm gets here. How does your office pivot and work within the storm itself?
Well, all of our different divisions will have crews on standby. We'll have lines of communications open with supervisors in those divisions. So we'll respond during the storm. We'll respond after the storm. If folks call in to 311 to let us know what issues and concerns they're having, we'll respond to those. Obviously, the big thing we try to do is keep trees out of the roadway. We try to put barricades up where roads are impassable to be sure we keep people safe. So our crews will be out doing those types of activities.
Okay, now you said during the storm and after the storm. When it comes to repairing power, the energy companies won't put people up in a truck until wind speeds are below a certain amount. Do y'all have any parameters with which you say, no, I'm not putting you back out on the road right now?
Well, we follow those same guidelines for the most part. But if we have something that's pretty dangerous, like a tree down, we will try to go out there and get that tree up if it doesn't require any big equipment. If it's just, a handsaw and a truck, something like that, then our crews can normally go and respond to that. But we won't put them out there in the heart of the storm. We'll hunker down and let the heart of the storm pass over. But when things calm down a bit, we'll get out there before folks get out on the road.
Yeah, the argument can be made that if a tree is blocking the road, no one should be on that road anyway, so who's the tree really blocking?
Yeah, I hear you, but, these trees fall pretty easily when the ground is moist and saturated. So a lot of times we'll see trees fall in the early part when wind gusts start to get up before the heart of the storm comes. And, always after the storm passes, there's a lot of debris that we have to concern ourselves with.
You mentioned saturation. It's like you're reading my notes because that was right where I was going. We've seen a number of afternoon storms this week in Baton Rouge. Where are we as far as saturation is concerned? I mean, we're not looking at any elevated levels right now, are we?
No, I don't think so. Look, we've had record rainfall this year, as everybody knows. I mean, we've had over 60 inches of rainfall. But here the last few days, we've had some blue sky days, which have dried things out quite a bit. So if you look at your yard and if you look around the parks and things, you see the ground is pretty dry. So I think we're in good shape going into the storm relative saturation levels. But, we get a lot of rain that's forecasted. The ground is going to get wet pretty quick.
Yes, absolutely, and that's where flooding concerns come in. And flash flooding is one thing. We all know the hot spots in Baton Rouge for that. But as far as any extended flooding, it's an important reminder that just because the rain stops doesn't mean we're done. We're not out of the woods just yet.
That's right. I mean, once the water hits the ground, it's got to go somewhere, and it normally runs through our normal watersheds. We think the systems will drain pretty quick. It all depends on how the storm comes in. If there's a lot of south wind that pushes water back up north towards the north, then it's going to hold water more than normal. We're concerned about that, of course. But we'd expect our drainage systems to drain the way they should once the rain stops.
In the meanwhile, we will be leaning on you a good bit. I'll probably be in touch over the weekend. It's we're getting ready for it, Kelvin. We appreciate the time, we appreciate the input and the information.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody to prepare themselves, do what they can do to protect their home, their property, and their families. And if you need us, let us know, and we'll do all we can to help.
And a ton of resources at Red Stick Ready as well. He is Kelvin Hill with DPW. Good luck, man. We're getting ready for it.
Thank you. Be blessed.
Absolutely. You too. We got Your Money Now coming your way in 60 seconds. Enough time for me to tell you about the folks over at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. All right, they say when the storm's rolling in, you might feel those little aches and pains, right? Kind of an old wives' tale maybe, but hey, if you are feeling those little aches, pains, tweaks, whatever it is that keeps you from being your best you, Baton Rouge Physical Therapy is here for you. 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area. They've been around for more than 58 years. Actually, got to be surpassing 59 at this point. 917-9185 is the phone number, 917-9185. Look, they handle things a little bit differently at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. They treat you like family. You're going to sit down, you're going to talk, you're going to go through a full-on conversation about what it is that's keeping you from physically being your best you. They're going to work out a program that fits you at your comfort level and then get you back to being physically better. Look, it doesn't have to be recovering from some major injury. It could just be that little tweak in the shoulder, the knee, the back, whatever it might be. Check out brptlake.com. brptlake.com. Here's Your Money Now. Yeah, I'm done with the LRN cuts. What up? No more LRN cuts. No, just, I mean, they'll have their news at the bottom of the next hour, but that was predictable. Yes, this is going to be bad. Yeah, we're going to get hurricane force winds in Baton Rouge, I think. I'll know a lot more after talking with Josh at 8:15. I got Josh Eachus coming on the show. I was pointing at the TV, not like he doesn't work on the third floor. We have a Teams call.
It's in the third floor conference room.
Oh, it's in person.
I think it's set up both ways.
That's the second time this week I've screwed that up. The what do we have for sale meeting the other day, I thought was on Teams. That's why I rolled in my workout clothes 5 minutes late. I'm pulling into the gym. I was leaving the house to go, because now I run to the gym. And as I'm closing the door, it was 15 minutes before the meeting started, so I got the alert on my calendar. I'm like, holy shit, this isn't on a call. I thought I was going to run to the gym and like dial into the call while I'm like walking. It's like, damn.
Yeah, that one was never a call. This one I think is both.
Okay.
I think it's
because TJ's not in the building right now. So
I'm going to go physically. Who are meeting? This another meteorologist?
No, this is just among us to get the game plan together.
I think one of the guys that's going to the URC or AFC.
Probably Trey Schmaltz, news director over there. So, all right. Well, it's definitely BRZ. That's we're partnered with them.
Gordy mentioned that it's on phone. You know how that is.
Yeah.
You need anything from me? Can I help out at all?
Not right now. Yeah, we'll talk after, because I don't know. I want to make sure we're on all social platforms throughout. Talk's Instagram is remarkably neglected, and last hurricane season was the last time I was really putting stuff up on a regular basis, doing videos like just handheld cell phone posted up. That's really, you don't have to get fancy with it, but I want to make sure we're utilizing as much as possible.
Okay, good. I'm putting
And
together all kinds of plans.
potentially, like, so this afternoon from 1 to 6, I don't want to be on YouTube. I'd rather be on Facebook. You're going to have a broader audience rather than trying to build YouTube right now. I'd rather run from Talk's Facebook page. So I'd like to be able to grab video from that and repurpose it back onto. Is that like?
How well is that computer done?
This one is okay. Would it be able to grab it like from a different location so that this one we don't have to like stop anything? Can it do that while it's still like let's say we have Josh Eachus on at 5 o'clock. Okay.
Oh, he says something good. We want to get it up right then.
Right. I'd like to post that back up to IGTV. Okay.
Somebody watching his video and then screen record it either on their phone or on one of these computers and throw it that way.
Okay.
Which won't be terrible.
Yeah, I know roughly how to do that, but I will need help with that because I'm not gonna be able to do it while hosting. So. He'll be here for the duration. Yeah.
Is there anything else? I mean, can I take y'all to pizza or something? I mean, if you're gonna be near that.
We'll go over that at 9:30 for sure.
I'm sure they'll probably get Johnny to go to the store and get lunch meat and bread and stuff on the weekend. Or sandwich tray.
Yeah, it's not like we don't have somebody here who owns a restaurant.
He's gonna be busy trying to take down a tent and put picnic tables in.
That's all fine and good, but we can send somebody over there and be like, "Hey, can we get some tortillas and a couple scoops of brisket?" I mean, no, leave it. Let it play. Let it play. It's fine. You want to bump me in, and I introduce it. That way, I can knock out the live read before it. It's all right. Don't sweat it. Oh, we are going to start off with a non-Ida story out of Iberville Parish, actually. Outside and presented by BRPT Lake coming your way right now. And we start off in Iberville Parish, where a Louisiana National Guardsman is accused of raping a teenager who was quarantined in the Youth Challenge program after she tested positive for COVID. Grabbing the story from WBRZ. That soldier, Stephen Mouton, is quarantined in the Iberville Parish Jail. Quarantine's a weird word to use for the jail. Arrested be another word. Detained would be one. Quarantine, okay, fine. Quote, "These ladies were all positive for COVID," St. Gabriel Police Chief Kevin Ambo said. They were separated from the other cadets and quarantined. He went into the dorm where they were quarantined and committed this act. He didn't care if they were positive or not. Damn it, he wanted it. That's the quote from Kevin Ambo. Ambo said the teens were given alcohol before Mouton brought one of them to the bathroom where the alleged rape occurred. The chief added, Mouton is not vaccinated for COVID-19. Is it just me, or is there a serious emphasis on the COVID-19 in a story about an alleged rape? Kevin Ambo seems to have a lot of focus on who is positive, who is negative for COVID. I get it. That's what puts these girls where they were, but Ambo said the teens were given alcohol before Mouton brought one of them to the bathroom where the alleged rape occurred. The chief added, Mouton is not vaccinated for COVID-19. Chief, it doesn't make rape any better if you are vaccinated. Assumption Parish Emergency Management Director John Boudreaux is urging residents to start preparing for Ida now. He's preparing for this latest storm to follow the same path that Andrew did when it hit Assumption Parish almost 20 years ago. Quote, "We know from Hurricane Andrew back in 92 we had a lot of damage to homes, mostly trees. It took us a year to clean all that up," Boudreaux said. Parish officials are also concerned that the area's emergency shelter at Napoleonville Middle School, the area's only emergency shelters at Napoleonville Middle. The gym usually holds 200 people, but with COVID-19, that number has been reduced to only space for 50. Boudreaux is now trying to identify other buildings that can house people in case of an emergency. National Hurricane Center released a hurricane watch for the entire northern Gulf Coast, well, the entire Louisiana coast and Mississippi coast as well. As of late last night, that hurricane watch went into effect. So, from an outside-in perspective, Cameron Parish, you're in it, all the way through to the Mississippi-Alabama border, so every parish within as well. Tropical storm watch is in effect for Mobile Bay, but that's getting way outside of the outside-in. All right, one more to go. That is Ascension Parish. Got your sandbag locations right here. The Prairieville Fire Department on Highway 73. Paula Park in Galvez, that's on Highway 933. The 5th Ward Fire Department on Highway 22 in Darrow. Butch Gore Memorial Park on Harry Savoy Road in Sanama. AP Fire District number 1 in Gonzales. Stevens Park on Cannon Road in Gonzales. Jackie Robinson Memorial Park on Cocoa Road in Geismar. And Highway 431 at Valentine Road is another location. Over on the west side of the river, DPW, their West Barn on 750 Church Street. Residents are asked to keep all sandbags through the duration of the season. Come on out, fill them up once, keep them all the way through. That is the Outside In, presented by BRPT Lake. We're going to take a quick break for news. After news, we are going to, Jake's going to take us back in time with this day in history. Before we get you to that news, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center. CompleteCollision.com is the website. CompleteCollision.com is the website. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. When you get into an accident, you got to do a lot of things very, very quickly. Assess damage. Make sure everyone's okay. Check on the folks in the other vehicle, and then determine where you're taking your vehicle. That's why I recommend Complete Collision and CompleteCollision.com. Let's get you to CBS News. All right, Josh is good to go. What? No, we should be in CBS News. Bad link. Sorry, that was really loud. Where's a radar? I want an actual picture. I don't want this shit. All of it. I throw out all the food. It's ridiculous how often that actually happens.
I was saying that like it's a joke, but I was also pretty serious.
Yeah, no, it like we're all bad about it. Everybody is.
We need to be better. But then again, boneless Thursdays.
Do what?
The Walk-ins.
No. Okay, so as soon as this commercial's over, then you dive into traffic. Okay. I just want a damn radar. There it is.
Well, when it comes to the drive, it's really cooperating this morning. Volume is light out there. There are no major crashes jamming you up. Traffic on I-12 looks good. Around O'Neill, this is the slowest spot. Just moments of slows and goes. Got those ramp meters allowing one car.
Nope. No.
Spaces things out. 15 range to 10, 12.
That's why I wrote it.
10 right now around College and McKinnon. Those dangerous ramps are clear. Speeds an average 60 on the interstate. Looking good on the Mississippi River Bridge. And for folks coming in from Prairieville, not a problem. 5
So after this, you do the
Let's take you outside and check on our cameras here. We're looking good in Denham, but you can see some slow travels there right around range.
No, you do hour 3, Haldane hour 3. You don't do sustained history until he jars it to you.
Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
Booyah.
.805 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Got a busy hour here as well. Dr. Josh Eachus, WBRC's chief meteorologist, is going to join us at 8:15, and then we're just going to dive in the back half hour of the show to talk about her tropical storm Ida and what the effects are going to be, what the expected effects are going to be in our remaining segments of the show. Jake is going to have this day in history for you in just a second, but I got to tell you about the folks over in Mooyah. Before the storm gets here, look, if you're going to go stock up on groceries, you don't want to eat all those groceries before you have to, right? So maybe swing by Mooyah, let's say tomorrow between noon and 2. The Bluebonnet location, Bluebonnet at Highland Road. I'll be there from noon to 2. You should come on out, enjoy a burger. It's going to be a glorious day tomorrow. The storm's still way, way off. Well, it'll be 2 days off at that point. But still, come on out. Noon to 2, I'll be there at the Mooyah on Bluebonnet and Highland. I will probably be enjoying I used to have a double Diablo. The weight loss has affected things, so it's just a Diablo at this point. But, yeah, burgers, fries, shakes. If you've not yet tried the sweet potato fries dipped in honey, you absolutely have to. It is phenomenal. It is next level. As are the burgers. I mean, fresh ingredients. They cut their vegetables fresh daily. They get their vegetables fresh daily. They bake their potato buns fresh daily. And, of course, you're getting that top-quality Angus beef as well over at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. You get the same great service, the same great quality, the same great ingredients at Bluebonnet and Highland or on Seagan, just north of Industriplex. Both locations of Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. All right now, Jake takes us back in time with This Day in History. What do we got, Jake? What are we looking at?
All right, what's up, people? Happy Friday to those listening. My name is Jake Barty, obviously, as you've heard before. All right, so let's start with the events on this day in history.
Get yourself a little more volume there.
How is that?
That's better. Yes, sir.
All righty, 1859 is where we will start on this day in history. First successful oil well drilled near Titusville, Pennsylvania by Edwin Drake.
First successful oil well was near Pennsylvania.
Of all places, too.
I mean, you know, look, it's hurricane season. We're going to have a hurricane in the Gulf very soon. That's going to mean locking it down in the Gulf as well. But, okay, Titusville, Pennsylvania, have at it.
Well, a couple years later, 1883, Krakatoa volcano west of Java in Indonesia erupts with a force of 1,300 megatons and kills approximately 40,000 people. Very happy thing to talk about in the second one, but I recognize Krakatoa, and I just wanted to put that on there. We're going to fast forward to about shortly after World War II, 1945, U.S. troops land in Japan after Japanese surrender. Go America.
It's a win. Count it up. It's a win.
1950, first transmission of a TV program from continental Europe shown on BBC. Just progression in technology for you.
Gotta love it.
1955, this is going to be a good one. Guinness Book of World Records, first published.
I
remember reading those all the time in book fairs when I was a kid. Shout out to anyone who knows what that is. 1962, Mariner 2 launched. First.
Whoa. No.
Whoa.
Everyone knows what book fairs are. That is like the highlight of the calendar year.
Do kids nowadays know about that, though?
Absolutely. Kids nowadays. How old are you?
I grew up different.
Back in my day. Hey, here's the thing, though. The Scholastic Book Fair is the thing. The latest copy of Clifford the Big Red Dog? Absolutely.
Yes,
the book fair is where it's at. Goosebumps? Absolutely.
Give me chills.
Yeah.
All right. Well, steadily moving
No,
forward.
not actual Goosebumps. I mean the series of books.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I got you.
All right.
1962, Mariner 2 launched. First probe to fly by Venus. Some space exploration for you.
Mm-hmm.
Swiftly moving on, 1964, Walt Disney's Mary Poppins, directed by Robert Stevenson, starring Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke, premieres in Los Angeles. I still remember seeing that movie when I was a kid. Classic.
Right after the book fair.
Yes, right after the book fair. 1970, Jimi Hendrix creates his last studio recording at Electric Lady Studios in New York, an instrumental called Slow Blues.
Nice.
Legend of the game. That'll conclude it for the events on this
No,
day
it
in
won't.
history. Oh, no.
No, it won't.
What you got for me?
This day in 1995, Tiger Woods wins the U.S. Golf Amateur Championship.
I don't know how I didn't see that.
Yeah, and it is, I mean, we do have a storm out there right now,
Mm-hmm.
so it is worth noting that on this day in 2011, Hurricane Irene strikes the U.S. East Coast, killing 47, causing up to an estimated $15.6 billion in damage.
Yikes.
That's August 27th of 2011. We're in that wheelhouse right now, man. Because Sunday will be the anniversary of Katrina.
Are you serious?
Yeah. August 29th, 2005 was when Katrina hit in the early morning hours. I was not even a full year into broadcasting yet, and that just overtook everything. Anyway, August 29th is actually when this storm's going to land in Louisiana as well. So,
Can't
all right.
get it better.
Yep, birthdays.
Birthdays. One of the biggest ones for me. Aaron Paul turns 42. Shout out to Breaking Bad.
Yeah, big time.
What a show. Next up, we have Pee Wee Herman turning 69.
Zero segue there. You can't get from point A to point B in
No,
that without it's
not
just
really.
it's not going to be comfortable. So,
Well, I mean, you talk about a guy from Breaking Bad, and then you got Pee Wee's Big Adventure.
yes. Well, and every adventure he had after that.
Oh, yeah, plenty. Next up, we have Lyndon B. Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
For any of those old school WWF fans, Sergeant Slaughter turns 73 today.
Hey, no kidding.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Sergeant Slaughter. I thought he was a G.I. Joe character, though.
He looks like one. I mean,
He was a G.I. Joe character. Confirmation from Chuck P. I'm running with that.
all right, now we're going to some NBA stuff here. The guy himself, the guy who clutched up for the Atlanta Hawks, Red Velvet himself, Kevin Huerter turns 23.
Okay.
He,
Nice.
he put in a shift in the playoffs. They were cooking.
Hawks, yeah.
That'll conclude for the birthdays. There's only
With
one.
two exceptions.
Let's hear him.
Shout out to the New Orleans Saints offensive line. John Stenchcomb, former Saints tackle, born on this day in 1979, and Saints current center Eric McCoy, born on this day in 1997.
Happy birthday to them. All right. I only have one death for this day.
Okay.
Which, I mean, I guess that's a good. I don't know if it's
It is.
It's a good thing. Yeah. Steve Ray Vaughan died in 1990 on this day.
Goodness. God, it seems like seems more recent than 1990 to be sure.
Do you have any for me?
No.
Oh. Well, that's going to do it for this day in history. And
it is National Banana Lovers Day.
Ooh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, National Banana Lovers Day. But I'm looking at the clock right now. We got to cut short because we need to get to meteorologist Dr. Josh Eachus. This is Mornings with Brian Haldane. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's get the latest on Ida coming up next on Talk 107.3. Kill the music bed. There it is.
This is only a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Eight 816 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP, Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, time to find out the latest about Tropical Storm Ida. Joining us now is WBRZ's Chief Meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus. Josh, good morning. How are you, sir?
Coming off the first of what I expect to be several long, sleepless nights ahead. So it's about to get rough in the capital area.
Yeah, it is. Have you ever seen spaghetti models this much in alignment 3 days out or 2.5 days out?
Oh, that's, I guess, a little subjective, but your point is taken that there's not a lot of hope for a ton of wiggling and jogging, enough to make a big difference in what we experience here in southeast Louisiana.
Yeah, it's. I mean, so from a meteorologist perspective, it sounds like you're just accepting the inevitable that this one's headed to us.
Yeah. Okay. So, let's go to data and be, I guess, as objective as we can. And we know at this point in time from landfall, historically, the track error is at about 100 miles, and we would need probably that much of a shift, maybe a little under that, to make a significant difference. So, even if we get a 75-mile shift west or east, not going to change a whole lot that most of the capital area is going to see some pretty significant impacts. I mean, the way I look at it, I think I spoke to the newsroom yesterday, you need to see the I track east of I-55 or Lafayette or westward for Baton Rouge to avoid a pretty major hit.
Yeah. Actually, that segues into one of the things I wanted to cover in this segment is the size of the storm. How big is it right now, and how big is it expected to be as it crosses the Gulf?
You know, that's a great question. And right now, it's a let's say a normal size system, and that is not forecasting the size of the storm is not. Let's say that's a newer part of the science. It's not something that's focused on a whole lot in the early going. So I don't have a great answer to give you on that. You know, we focus on track, we focus on intensity, and we get a general idea of the breadth of the storm. But on some of the high-resolution forecast models right now, if you do put an eye right over Baton Rouge, you probably have storm force winds stretching all the way across the Atchafalaya Basin and about to I-55. So, you know, as the crow flies, you're looking at, you know, winds that they could stretch out about 75 to 100 miles.
I mean, that is a pretty serious storm. Let's talk about potential intensity. We had Ben Schott from the National Hurricane Center on yesterday. He says the Gulf is just it's got all the makings. This is the recipe for the storm to get stronger. What are we looking at with as Ida makes its way across into the Gulf?
This morning's update came into line with something I was thinking yesterday. I regurgitated this to the newsroom, and I mentioned it on air that the National Hurricane Center forecast was at the upper end of a Category 2 at landfall, and I thought it was a little bit underdone given the nearly ideal conditions for strengthening. And now the intensity forecast has been guided up to a major hurricane, a Category 3. And while we always say not to focus on category, we're getting to a point now where an extra 5-10 miles per hour wind start to make a pretty big difference because the wind damages increase exponentially, not linearly with the increase in wind speed. So, and I don't know that Category 3 is the upper bound. I would still encourage people to prepare for a Category 4. We always encourage to prepare for one category higher, and there is really little impediment to the system gaining strength in the Gulf. It's already a little bit ahead of schedule. It will have a hiccup or two crossing Cuba, but immediately when it enters the southeastern Gulf of Mexico is some of the warmest and deepest warm water in the entire Atlantic basin, and it pretty much has that to work with until it reaches the Louisiana coast. And there is minimal wind shear and not much dry air to speak of. So, I mean, those are all the check boxes to say this thing's got a healthy environment ahead of it. Don't like to see it.
Okay, so when you talk about categories, you're talking about maximum wind speed. And when you're talking about maximum wind speed, my next question in that regard is, from the time it hits land to the time it gets to Baton Rouge, how much decrease will we see within there? I mean, if it's a Category 4 when it hits, what is it when it gets this far inland?
Yeah, it's going to depend on the speed of the storm at landfall. A faster-moving storm, obviously, going to hold its wind a little bit longer and not weaken as quickly. It looks as though this system actually is going to start to slow down a little bit compared to its motion across the Gulf of Mexico. But as the current forecast is, when we bring the storm level with Baton Rouge from a latitude perspective, maximum sustained winds could still be at 100 miles per hour. Now, that wind field's going to start to shrink. Friction of land starts to cut them down a little bit. Even with Hurricane Laura, when we were, had maximum winds rated 140 at center, you were finding that was about the max wind gust, and sustained was a little bit lower. So I think those numbers can be sometimes a little bit startling, but you also have to realize that a 40, 50 mile per hour wind is going to be enough to take out power lines and trees and things like that. So I think it helps to communicate that we're at a serious threat for some wind damage here in the Baton Rouge area. Now, the drawback is, if it parks at the coast and starts to weaken a little bit, then we're in heavy rain for longer. So it's almost a lose-lose situation. Which of the two hazards do we want or expect to be worse for our area? It looks like they're both going to be problematic.
Moving northwest at 15 miles per hour right now, what do you expect it to slow down to?
I think it's going to get more into the 10 mile per hour range when it gets to land. It's not going to be a dramatic slowdown, but this is going to last for 12 to 16 hours. I mean, we start to see impacts as soon as midday on Sunday, maybe a little earlier along the coast, but just speaking in terms of Baton Rouge, tropical storm force winds become possible from mid to late afternoon on Sunday and likely remain possible until about mid-morning on Monday. So it is a really rough, nasty night Sunday into Monday. And at that point, we hope the weakening of the storm, the southern end of it, starts to kind of fall apart a little bit, so we only have that initial burst of heavy rain, and once the center of the storm passes, we see some tapering on that. But know that the wind will remain elevated even as the backside of the storm comes through.
Are we too soon or are we too early to project a number of inches of rainfall?
No, I mean, the forecast for our area is in kind of the 5 to 10 inch range. As you move a little bit closer to the coast in New Orleans, I think there's some 10 to 15 inch possibilities, maybe in around Lakes Maurepas and Pontchartrain as well. I think that's going to adjust, when we see that speed at landfall. If it really slows down, we're going to be towards the upper end of that. If it keeps moving along, we'll be towards the lower end of that range. And that's why they were a little broad, 5 to 10, 6 to 12. 6 a little more manageable over a 12-hour period than about 12 inches of rain. That would do some damage to bringing the rivers up.
And storm surge?
Storm surge is going to be pretty significant, too, along the coast. About 9 feet is what we're thinking right now. Of course, you've got your flood-protected areas in Morgan City and New Orleans, around a few parts of Houma as well. But some of those areas outside of the flood protection area for the coastal parishes, could be seeing about 9 feet of water inundation. For the lakes, Pontchartrain, 3 to 5 foot around the coast, especially on the south and east-facing shorelines. And for Lake Maurepas, on those same south and east-facing shorelines, about 2 to 4 foot of water.
WBRC's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus, is our guest. I got a couple more for you, Josh, before I get you out of here. So the map with the little cone on the National Hurricane Center's website has it making landfall just after 2 p.m. Sunday, but you're saying tropical storm force winds are possible in Baton Rouge early afternoon Sunday as well. Is this storm out in front of itself?
I think one thing to keep in mind when we're looking at those cones, it's all about those cones solely focus on the center.
Mm-hmm.
So they when you see a landfall around 2 p.m. on Sunday, that's when the center comes inland. But as you asked earlier, it is a pretty broad storm. It's going to stretch, a couple dozen miles across east, west, north, south. So, we don't need the eye to come inland to start having winds pick up and rain picking up across southeast Louisiana. So that's why I would urge everybody with their preparations to complete them by bedtime on Saturday. Because by Sunday morning, things start to go downhill and pretty steadily through the day. And as far as, that cone, do remember, even if it takes the far left line or the far right line, impacts will be felt, well outside of what that cone is showing. So that is only for where the center is going to go.
Look, you mentioned that far left line, and as you're facing it, the far left line would be to the west. I've got to ask about Lake Charles. Do they stand to be in any danger from this one as they're still recovering from last year's ridiculously bad season?
If it took that very far left-west track, they'd take a pretty nasty hit as well. If it followed more the middle of the cone or the right side of the cone as it does right now, I think they would kind of dodge it. I don't wish the storm on anybody. I certainly don't want it to happen to us here. I'm sorry, the dogs are going at it.
Look, everybody's got an opinion on the forecast models, so.
But as of the current scenario, I think they would get out of this one, fairly well.
Evacuations. Should we expect to see many evacuations, especially in our coastal areas?
Yeah, I think that stuff's going to start to get enacted today, especially for those areas outside of the flood protection zone. Wouldn't be shocked at all to see the orders in that. Now, in the Baton Rouge area, we don't deal with that as much. And just, full disclosure, as a forecaster that works primarily in an inland landlocked viewing area, not the first person to ask about evacuations. I expect them for the coast, but I'm not an expert on how that procedure works for those coastal parishes.
All good, all good. One more before I get you out of here, and that's about saturation. I talked about this a little bit with Kelvin Hill from DPW in the last hour. How is Baton Rouge holding up with, how much more water can we take right now before seeing some significant flooding here in town?
That's a good question, too. I was also having this conversation in the newsroom yesterday, and, I think we've talked, it's a well above average year for rainfall. So, as a whole, the water table is well saturated across the area, but what have you done for me lately does matter here. Mm-hmm. And over the last week or two, with our couple of stretches of really hot weather, we've had a lot of evaporation get going. I don't know if you noticed, but we even had some lawns kind of browning out. That's a sign that at least the topsoils are a little bit drier. And then just simple observations, driving around and looking, one of the channels that I monitor frequently is Ward Creek as you get over into the Klein Peter area, and keeping an eye on that. It's at the lowest I have observed it to be all summer. And, the bayous are running at their lowest. I have seen them all summer. Manchac, in most cases is around 2 feet, which is good. So we can handle a lot right now. We're going to get a lot, which is good, but we're positioned better to accept this much rain now than we were a month or two ago.
So from just a early glance, flash flooding more likely to be a problem than like sustained flooding.
Yes, and that's a really important distinction that I do think is lost on a lot of people. Flash flooding is when you're going to have these small streams, not even the ones that really have names. They come out of their banks first because they're the smallest. Standing water on the streets, this catch basins, your typical roads, the Sherwood Forest area, the 110, down on Nicholson, the Acadian. They're going to hold water in a flash, in an instant, and that would have a chance to recede off, and then we watch the rivers. Wouldn't be shocked to see some of the rivers come up to above flood stage. Kind of would expect that, but I always remind people that's common. That happens a couple of times each year. We are going to get an official river forecast a little bit later on today and into Saturday, and you might see some forecasts of minor or even moderate river flooding, but I hesitate to put comps to some of our major flood events of the past just yet.
Well, we'll be in touch with you regularly so we can get those comps as we get closer to the storm. In the meanwhile, we always appreciate the time. He's WBRZ's chief meteorologist, Dr. Josh Eachus. Thank you so much.
All right, take care, Brian. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Probably a lot more frequently than he'd like, but, right. He is a wealth of knowledge throughout. I appreciate having him and the entire WBRZ team as a resource, which, by the way, if you're not following WBRZ via social media, you need to be doing that as well. It's the social media aspect of continuing coverage is every bit as important as it is on the air, whether you be talking about Channel 2 or here with us. All right, we've got news coming up a little bit over a minute from right now. After news, we will check traffic and weather, and we got a lot more coverage of what is now Tropical Storm Ida, likely to be Hurricane Ida sometime tomorrow, though. I got to tell you, to see the 7 o'clock numbers showing maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour, we're not far off, y'all. We're narrowing in on it very, very quickly. So, but it does have Cuba standing in the way for a brief stint before entering the Gulf of Mexico. We'll unpack a lot of what Dr. Josh had to say in our next segment. A number of takeaways that I had from that when talking about looking at. Look, we're still 2 days away from this making landfall. 2 days and a few hours from this officially making landfall. But we'll break it all down in our next segment. Hey, don't forget to download the all-new Talk 107.3 mobile app presented by Gregory Ricks and Associates. You can listen live. You can listen on demand. All the great content that we have individually, like that last interview with Josh Eachus, is going to be up on demand right after this show is over with. The Talk 107.3 mobile app presented by Gregory Ricks and Associates. Get it right now. All right, let's go ahead and check news. We're going to start with CBS. We'll get the latest on Afghanistan. They'll probably be checking on us as well as there is a storm headed this way. Then we'll check our local news, traffic, and weather. Then continuing next on Talk 107.3. There it is. He mentioned Sherwood with the flash flooding. It's got me worried. I love how buttoned up news people are. Josh just texts. He's like, sorry about the dogs. This is radio, brother. We don't sweat that shit. Real life happens. My gosh. See, a text from Condon. CNN's reporting on a healthy 40-year-old COVID victim's last words. I blame the unvaccinated for this. This woman looks like she ate every who in Whoville. I blame the unvaccinated. Why did you blame the ho-hos and donuts? We're not. I know. I'm not. I don't like fat shaming because a lot of people are struggling with weight. But
I'm for body positivity, but when you're at the point where it's literally you're gonna die in 2 years, then that's out the window.
you,
Like, not safe for yourself and someone should tell someone.
you tell me. Well, much? Well, much?
See an accident? Report it at WBRZ Traffic on Twitter. This report is brought to you by Shawbills, where you can get up to $170 with the purchase of 4 Toyo passenger light truck tires. Visit ShawbillsTire.com to learn more.
How do you choose the right attorney? I give you the answers at MurphyLawFirm.com. Don't allow insurance companies to take advantage of you. Make the right decisions. Don't leave money on the table. Visit
Now that commercial would have been better with Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Can't win them all.
I know. Don't sweat it, bro.
B, you think we'll simulcast over all the stations Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday night to Monday morning, almost certainly.
That's what I was thinking. Me and Michelle texting back and forth about stuff, talking about production work, and she's just checking on me. It's like, you're pretty much going to be unavailable for a lot of stuff. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, because I was asking, like, do I need to still track for Sunday?
So that's one of the things I'm going to ask in this 9:30 call. Do I have access to Michelle? I know it often sounds like I gush over her, because I do. She's so ridiculously talented and versatile. She can do everything under this roof. Like, better than damn near everyone under this roof. Production, yes. The whole, tracking on Eagle, doing her show on Eagle, yes. But I feel like we're not scratching the surface of what she's capable. I don't want to overwork her. But at the same time, though, God, I don't. Right. It's like being a baseball manager and just having Aaron Judge sit on the bench.
Yeah. She texted me and said Gordy wanted me to ask Jay if he'd be available, and I texted him and he said he could come in Sunday and probably Monday. So right now he's got handling stuff at the restaurant for this is priority one.
Restaurants can be closed on Sunday and Monday, so.
Yeah, we just like
Yeah.
Get there, take your tents down, move all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Prepare for food if power goes out.
Is he taking those down today or tomorrow? I'd take them down tomorrow if I were him. Because
I'd get there tomorrow morning, just
the.
no outside seating, just take it down.
Yeah, absolutely. Deal with the repercussions to that tomorrow. But for
If he brings all the patio furniture, then he can't open it all. That's what
here's where you got to maximize is everybody goes grocery shopping, but doesn't want to burn through their groceries yet. So let's go out now because we can't go out next week. Bump me in. It doesn't matter that we just had Josh on. It's plus tracking the storm. The weather's going to be an hour and a half old. So
That's true.
837 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So we do have Tropical Storm Ida on the radar. Yes, we are paying attention to it. Yes, this show's been very Ida heavy for sure. We'll get to a few other things in just a minute. Let's run down the current forecast, though. Ida is still 2 days away, and my great appreciation to Dr. Josh Eachus for hopping on board in the last segment to give us the latest. You know, one thing I didn't get to with Josh, we talked about saturation, right? What we've seen up until now. But I got to tell you, if we can start to see Ida on Sunday, what about today and tomorrow? We've got a 77% chance of rain today and a 50% chance of rain tomorrow. Now, that being said, we're not expected to get a whole lot of accumulation of actual precipitation over those 2 days, but expect a few showers throughout the day today and tomorrow, which, by the way, side note, not a weather note here, a traffic note here. If you are taking care of your hurricane preparedness today, as you should be, if you're taking care of your hurricane preparedness today, know that there's a good chance it's going to rain. And know that you're going to have an inordinate amount of people on the roads, and know that they're all going to lose their minds. Like, this is going to be a combination. I was trying to avoid the term perfect storm. This is going to be a combination of a number of different things all at once. Number one, Friday afternoon traffic in Baton Rouge. We know that everyone loses their minds. 70% chance of rain. We know that everyone loses their minds. People going to get bottled water, which has water ever gone bad in Baton Rouge? We have an aquifer. I mean, what's an aquifer? Well, that's for getting water out of. I don't know that water's ever gone bad in Baton Rouge, but we always go buy bottled water every storm. Look, if you're in surrounding areas, I get it. I get where you're at. That's cool. But here, I mean, let's leave the Propel on the shelf. Grab your toilet paper. Grab your batteries. Grab your Vienna sausages. Whatever happened to that chick? Remember her? Big YouTube star for a number of different storms. Disappeared quickly. I don't even remember her name now. Talk about know your memes. But if you're getting all your hurricane preparedness done, where everyone once again loses their minds, so you got normal Friday traffic, you got rain, you got Ida prep, you got a number of different reasons for people to just lose their biscuits, and let's be ready for it. Patience on the road, finding alternate routes, don't jam up the main thoroughfares. And did I mention patience on the roads? So high today of 87, low tonight of 74, 70% chance of rain today. High tomorrow of 89, low tomorrow night of 75. Your high on Sunday is going to top out at 81 degrees. That's because there's going to be a nice little breeze coming in, courtesy of Ida. Looking like Sunday and Monday for Ida to hit, and then clearing out probably Tuesday, and then scaling back to what should be an absolutely glorious Labor Day weekend. As far as those showers that are concerned today, look for them in the late afternoon. 3 p.m. on. Like from 3 p.m. to like 8-ish is when we're supposed to have those. So that is the latest on your current forecast. The latest on Ida is in the Caribbean, tropical storm, maximum sustained winds 60 miles an hour, moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. The storm center is expected to make landfall Sunday afternoon just west of Morgan City. All the different modeling for Ida has it within a very narrow scope. Dr. Josh pointed this out last segment that, look, spaghetti models are spaghetti models, and any jackleg can throw one up there and point this thing over at Jacksonville if he wanted to. But they're all pretty much aligned. I mean, normally, if you're looking at a dozen models, then you're going to have, 2 headed towards Texas, 8 headed toward where the storm is likely going, and 2 headed off somewhere in the east. Not this time. Not this time. Everybody is pretty much in line within, as Josh put it, within 100 miles of each other. So it is. When it comes to spaghetti models, it's not looking like angel hair. It's looking like fettuccine. How about that? Oh, speaking of food. Normally, we would have our Foodie Friday segment right now, presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Thought it was a little more prudent not to send people outdoors to the grill over the weekend because of what's coming. But I do still need to tell you about the folks over at the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. BeefIt'sWhat'sForDinner.com is the website. BeefIt'sWhat'sForDinner.com. You get yourself some recipes. Look, you're going to be inside on Sunday and Monday, right? Maybe if you want to try something new out on the stove or in the oven. beefitswhatsfordinner.com. While you're there, you can learn all about the great nutritional qualities of beef, 10 vitamins and nutrients, protein, iron, you name it. Beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Check them out. Foodie Friday will continue next Friday. We'll head you into Labor Day weekend. I believe Mooyah will be on board for next Friday, and I do believe that I'll be diving into a burger for sure because I can't pass it up when it comes to Mooyah. Oh, by the way, if you're knocking out hurricane prep tomorrow and you're out and about in the Bluebonnet and Highland area, swing by Mooyah. Bluebonnet and Highland, noon to 2. I'll be there. All right. Some non-Ida news. Ida predicted this. Jameis Winston is now the official starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. National Football League reported this morning that the Jameis Winston era is set to begin in New Orleans. Moments later, ESPN senior NFL insider Adam Schefter tweeted, QB1 with a photo of Winston. Predictable? Yes. Do I have to stop saying Tamus? No. Going to mess that up for a few weeks at least. ESPN says Winston will replace Drew Brees as New Orleans Saints starting quarterback in Week 1 when they host the Green Bay Packers. What does that mean for tomorrow night's game? Don't know yet. We'll see if he even plays. I'm sure he'll get a few reps, to say the least, with only three preseason games. Chuck, don't. Oh, well, okay. So Chuck P's off mic right now. He says in the background, if they play, they're playing. Yes, it is scheduled for the Superdome the night before a hurricane's supposed to hit, but I don't see a whole lot of scenarios where they don't. One more thing we're going to check. By the way, if they do, it'll be on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. I guess that is one more thing we'll have to check on beforehand. Speaking of football, it is week 0 in college football. There will be plenty to watch tomorrow from a college standpoint, which means next week is week 1. As soon as we have word from LSU as to whether or not there will be an Ed Ogeron press conference on Monday, we will be able to report that back to you. Oh, hey. Remember I was mentioning the Vienna sausages thing a minute ago? Amy says on YouTube it was Rhonda Fay. You're so right. Yes. Vienna sausages. As a whole meme, it came and went. But shout out Amy. Good job. Couple of other newsy news items real quick before we move on. The governor's press conference is scheduled for 3:30 this afternoon. We will carry it for you live right here on Talk 107.3 FM. We plan on having extended coverage to prep you for what is still Tropical Storm Ida this afternoon. I'll be going at it from 1 until the governor, and then from the end of the governor until 6 p.m. As far as the weekend plans, that's going to depend on how the storm plays out during the day today. I had a couple more items for you to make sure. Speaking of football, it is Jamboree weekend. Check with your local team. Check with the team you follow to find out if there's been any cancellations. We know that Baker's called off for, well, not storm-related reasons, but a death in the family. I mean, a freshman at Baker High who played football passed away due to COVID yesterday. Nope, day before yesterday, excuse me. And, Baker's going virtual through past Labor Day, and clearly it's hitting home in that community as a very, very well-liked 14-year-old kid. Speaking of COVID, the latest COVID numbers yesterday, a lot of initial cases and a lot of deaths, but there is some decent news to report through that, though. 5,131 new cases. That's still a remarkably high number. The Delta variant still proving to be very spreadable. 5,131 new cases yesterday. 72 new deaths reported yesterday. This is the first day in 3 days that the number of deaths has been under 100, but 72 is still a ridiculous number. State's looking at 12,298 deaths since the beginning of the pandemic. Here's the news that I wanted to report that is a little bit better. Percent positivity yesterday was 8.8%. This is the first time we've been under 10% in some time. We're about to start tracking that R0 number again. We've gotten away from the R0 number in recent times, but it is, as percent positivity starts to drop again. R0 is the number that tells you if you're spreading it to more than one person at a time, and that number is back under 1. I want to say it's all the way under like 0.6, like 0.57. But that's a number we will start tracking as the number of as the percent positivity continues to drop. The other slight piece of good news when it comes to COVID. Reporting that 2,729 people are in the hospital, it doesn't sound like good news. But when you know that yesterday that number was 2,844, if you could reduce the number of people in the hospital by 115 over the course of one day, it's not necessarily a bad thing. 2,729 people are in the hospital with COVID-19 statewide. 480 of those are on ventilators. Normally on Fridays, the governor's press conference has been at 1:30 to report on COVID. He'll be in the Unified Command Group at that time, pushing his presser back to 3:30. As is the case with every storm, Governor John Bel Edwards has declared a state of emergency due to the potential impacts and further development of Tropical Storm Ida. According to the National Hurricane according to the National Hurricane Center, the system is forecast to approach the northern Gulf Coast at or near major hurricane intensity Sunday. One more note from Dr. Josh's hit with us a little while ago. National Hurricane Center has this thing topping out at the top of a 2, possibly a 3. They're posting it as a major storm when it makes landfall. One thing Dr. Josh said was possibly prepare for this thing as a 4. He doesn't expect it to get to a 4, but you want to prepare one category beyond where it's going to be. Category 3 is no joke, y'all. 110 mile per hour winds. And if it's moving quickly, can get here with still hurricane force sustained winds. I'm not normally a hurricane alarmist, but this one definitely has me concerned. Let's take a quick break for your money now. We'll check traffic one more time, come back and close it out on Talk 107.3 FM. Yeah, the state's R0 is at 0.57 right now. That's a solid. That's a really good number for us. Wow. 13 years ago today, we bought young Kerrigan her first Halloween costume, and she was a chicken. Look, Chuck. Now, thank you. We tried to keep the chicken for Abby, but Abby was like a thunder chunk her first 2 years. No. I believe Christy was the one who said, "Hey, look, stuffed chicken." Like Anthony Kiedis? Well done, sir. You meant like an actual chili pepper, like he could have been ULL's mascot? It's not happening. No segment on Labor Day. I didn't think any of those Fs. Yes, please. All right, state of emergency declared, area sandbags. Here we go. This is stuff I'm saving for later today. Sha-la-la-la-la. Sha-la-la-la-la. Yes. Ooh! We're still a minute from traffic? Wow. All right. Yeah. That's all right. That's all right. We're good. We got it. Thank you. 8:56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Last segment to go before we hand things off to the Fox News rundown. Oh man! All right, y'all. I hope you're ready for it. I mean, we've gone over the coordinates. We've gone over the models. We've talked with Dr. Josh Eachus. 1 o'clock this afternoon, we're going to pick it up again and take you up to 6 o'clock. 5 solid hours of coverage, including the governor's press conference at 3:30. It'll be me and Kevin Ford from 1 till 3. Looking to put together some stuff for the afternoon as well. I'm sure we'll be in constant contact with the city parish as well as with our news partners over at WBRZ, wherever they may be stationed. This is one of the things I like about having a partnership with a TV station is they're able to send reporters like, there will be someone's going to draw the Morgan City straw here. I feel bad for them, but we'll have them on the hotline for sure. But look, 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock this afternoon, we'll have you covered. I believe that's going to be on Facebook Live as well, not YouTube today, Facebook Live. And our coverage throughout will be not just on air, but via social media as well. So when we're on Sunday, you throw us up on TV in the den, or wherever. As far as Monday's concerned, that's going to be completely determined by the intensity of this storm. So, hey, about an hour, maybe an hour and a half-ish from right now, I'll be swinging by Ghost Limb Nutrition to pick up my storm snacks. If you've not yet signed up and you know you need to drop a few pounds, as soon as the storm has passed, maybe swing by Ghost Limb. Heck, you know how we eat when we're hunkering down for a storm anyway, right? But if you want to adopt a few more healthy lifestyles, if you want to knock off a few pounds, if you want to get out of some of those comorbidities like increased blood pressure, at risk for diabetes, obesity, all these things can be solved by losing weight. and Go Slim is the way to do it. Look, there's a million different diets out there. There's diet food everywhere you turn. With Go Slim, what's different? Accountability. Like I said, I'll be there about an hour and a half from right now, and I'll go step on the scale. I'll sit down with Vicky, and we'll talk about what I did right this week. We'll talk about what I did wrong this week. We'll talk about how I probably drink too much. We'll talk about all of it in a very positive, reinforcing way so that when I leave there, I know I can attack next week even stronger in order to get to my goal weight, which I'm narrowing in on quickly. 763-9627 is the phone number. 763-9627. GEAUXSlimBR.com is the website. Or just swing by. They're on Bluebonnet, right at Perkins Road. You know where Rouse's is at? If you're looking at Rouse's, look to your left. You'll see Go Slim Nutrition. All right, that's going to just about do it for us. Like we said, Governor's press conference will be live right here on Talk 107.3 FM. And we'll be running from 1 until 6. One more time, the details on Tropical Storm Ida are as follows. It is currently still in the Caribbean. It will be crossing Cuba later today. It is currently a tropical storm with maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour, which means it is only 14 miles per hour away from hurricane status, with a day's worth of heat in the Caribbean to go. After that, once it crosses Cuba, it'll be in the Gulf, and we are in the crosshairs. We got to get out of here. Here comes Fox News Rundown. All right, hey, YouTube, thank you all so much. We'll be on Facebook this afternoon from 1 till 6. Beyond that, I don't know whether or not we'll be on YouTube or Facebook, but if you've not yet subscribed, subscribe, please. And just continue to follow the content throughout the weekend. We'll do our best to get us all through this storm.